I call this regular meeting of the San Marcos City Council to order. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd. The time is 6 p.m. Ms. Trevino, please call the roll.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez.
Here.
Ms. Garza. Mayor Houston.
Here.
Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Mendoza. Thank you.
He is online. He's waving at us.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can now.
Okay.
Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
All right, this evening, our invocation is provided by Deacon Robert Gutierrez at St. John's Catholic Church. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you as humble servants, knowing well the awesome responsibility you have placed upon each one of us here present today. We also come to you asking for your guidance and wisdom as we begin this meeting. We acknowledge that we need your wisdom and insights, and we welcome your presence among us. Guide us in our discussions and decisions. Help us to seek what is best for our citizens and our community. We trust in your perfect wisdom and ask that you direct our meeting according to your will. We also ask that you watch over our elected officials, especially our city council members and our esteemed mayor. May you keep them safe and healthy. And may the peace and blessings of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit descend upon you and stay with you forever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Next, our pledges of allegiance to the United States and Texas. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Next is our citizen comment time period. City Council will hear citizen comments at regular meetings, work sessions, and workshops. There is a sign-up process. If you are online, please watch because there will be a pop-up question that you will need to respond in order for you to be able to speak and turn on your video when it's your turn. Speakers may speak once and may not yield time to others. If you speak now about a public hearing topic on tonight's agenda, I ask that you not repeat exactly the same comments again during the public hearing on the same topic. You will have 3 minutes to speak after you state your name. A timer is displayed on the screen. You'll start in the green bar. When the timer shows only yellow, you'll have less than 20 seconds left and you'll hear a little ping. When the timer is red, your time to speak is up and a bell will ring. If you hear a popping sound, step back a little bit from the microphone, and the mayor and council will endeavor to ensure that meetings are conducted in a courteous manner and in an atmosphere free of defamation, intimidation, personal insults, profanity, or threats of violence. If you do any of those, you will hear the gavel, and I will ask you to leave the council chambers. This is your warning. Our speakers, I will call out 5 names if you would be ready to speak. When I call your name again, we have Fisher Schaefer, Bucky Couch, Sam Young, Shannon Fitzpatrick, and CJ Satina. And I know some of you are online. Fisher Schaefer, are you ready? I believe you're here and ready.
Yes, I'm ready and here.
Okay, if you'll state your name, your 3 minutes will begin.
Hi, I'm Fisher Schaefer. The ideal of flock is a nice one, increased safety. The reality, however, is that safety is not a guarantee to flock being utilized by our city. There are cons of flock that are worth considering too. Cons like privacy and abuse that Hays County considered when they canceled their contract. Austin, too, also stopped its license plate reader program due to privacy concerns. I'm going to read a quote. Flock has unnecessarily exposed Americans' sensitive personal data to theft by hackers and foreign spies. That's U.S. Senator Wyden and U.S. Representative Krishnamurthy. End quote. San Marcos should not renew its flock safety contract. This is an unvetted and extremely immature technology. Please do not spend the community's money on this unnecessary expense. Also, be very careful about the statistics that Flock and law enforcement representatives tout in favor of this unsecure surveillance system. There are sometimes erroneous studies erroneous statistics that come from studies conducted by Flock's own biased employees. Another concern is miscarriage of justice and abuse of data. Flock has been used to wrongfully accuse people of crimes. Most recently, a package theft in Metro Denver, Colorado, was wrongfully pinned on a woman there. I'd like to see our city spend money on crime prevention instead of reaction. Let's spend it on things like public and better informed zoning decisions that reduces our deathly reliance on cars. I'd rather see that money spent on public know your rights events and constitutional rights training for law enforcement employees. I'd rather our police department be trained in Brazilian jiu-jitsu than allow them to calmly and safely subdue unarmed community members instead of relying on deadly force. I'd rather it be spent on community culture and art events, spaces, and incentives. You name it, there's a better destination for that money. In conclusion, Flock does not guarantee San Marcos a better or safer future, but it certainly carries a higher degree of personal information theft and abuse risks while costing us money that would be better used elsewhere. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Bucky Couch, who joins us online.
Can y'all see me?
We can see and hear you. You may proceed, sir.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Yeah, I just assumed that all of you have already made your decision regarding the continuation of Flock contract. So whatever comments are here tonight are just allows us to state our opinions. So a couple of things I have to say. There's so much fear and disinformation that's put out about the use of license plate readers. The folks that are opposing it have done an incredible job of putting stuff out on social media that just really isn't true as it relates to San Marcos. Back when council started discussing this, I don't know, back in April, the SMPD has revised their policy on the use of license plate readers that addresses many of the fears expressed by those opposing this technology. And anyone can go on the website, the city's website, to the police department's website and see everything that I've just discussed. But the one area I really want to talk about is something that I haven't heard from any comments through this whole process. So what about the victims of the crimes where license plate reader cameras have been useful in finding the bad guys and bring them to justice? A recent example is the shootings that occurred downtown just a few weeks ago. The license plate reader was able to identify the suspect's vehicle in a very short order and greatly assisted law enforcement. I can only guess that the victims of that incident are glad that license plate reader technology existed in San Marcos. So as a business owner, as a taxpayer, as a longtime resident, I support the use of technology to help law enforcement. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sam Young.
Thank you. Sam Young. Talk from the opposition to Flock only serves to scare people. The opposition probably demanded body cameras for cops. With few exceptions, those body cams only show how hard a job it is to be a law enforcement officer. Courts have found that drivers have little expectation of privacy for license plate numbers on public roads. In today's world, once you leave home, there is no real privacy. Cameras record you at retail stores, convenience stores, and just walking in some cities. Removing the cameras will not protect privacy. I have no real logical reason how Flock cameras criminalize immigrants or harm women's reproductive rights. Flock is only one tool for law enforcement. San Marcos has I-35, which is a known conduit for human smuggling, drugs, illegal guns, and other activity. As a comparison of technology, probably all know Bonnie and Clyde. In their day, they had the advantage that police didn't have radios, so they couldn't So if somebody saw them, they couldn't call ahead to get them. So, because they're sparsely used, not available. So do we want to take radios out of police cars because of its technology that might be misused? So I urge you to renew the contract so the citizens of San Marcos can feel safer and criminals can feel the scrutiny of the police. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Shannon Fitzpatrick.
I'm Shannon Fitzpatrick. I'm adamantly opposed to the city of San Marcos maintaining a relationship with the mass surveillance company Flock. I'm assuming that each of you have read their contract, I have, and that they're very forthright about what their capabilities are. They have a database of everyone in this town who basically drives from one side of town to the other. They tell you that they keep track of your bumper stickers, your roof racks, and soon you and your passengers, because if you don't think that facial recognition is right around the corner with this company, you are naive. Flock is controlled by Peter Thiel, the tech multi-billionaire who's actively engaged in American politics at the highest level. Look at his company, Planeteer. His business is data. Then reread George Orwell's 1984 to see where this could go. Imagine a database that contains information about when and where you go to church, or if you don't go to church. A database that knows where you went when you went to visit your girlfriend or boyfriend's home, and that could be cross-referenced with marriage licenses. You went to a bar, a certain doctor, a rally, a gathering, a meeting, a presentation, such as this. All fair game for the massive databases of Flock and Palantir and those they share data with. Perhaps you can even envision a long time ago when you were supposed to be at school but weren't. Some of us might have accidentally spent a little too long at Pizza Plaza, aka Valentino's Pizza, in high school. If Flock surveillance cameras were in place as you drove through an intersection on the way back to school, you and your classmates could have been filtered through AI, and notification could have been immediately sent to both your parents and law enforcement. Wouldn't that have been great? There's absolutely no accountability for Flock on how they use our data under their contracts with the city of San Marcos, and this must stop. It's their business model. I have worked for law enforcement. I understand the allure of going to a web of cameras and using AI to filter through the now quaint concept of license plate readers to try to catch the bad guy. But law enforcement has other alternatives. They might take a bit more work, but it can be done, and it doesn't involve our city government actively handing over our civil liberties to anyone who chooses to use that data however they want. There must be safeguards, and you will never have those with Flock. Democracy requires vigilance. You are all elected to do exactly that. Please reconsider the city's relationship with Flock and stop all contracts with them before it's too late. Thank you.
Our next speaker is CJ Satina, and as CJ makes his way to the podium, I'm going to call the next 5 names. If y'all could be please ready. Eli Doyle, Amy Camp, Maxfield Baker, Karen Munoz, and Chris B. Polanco.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is CJ Satina. I'm here to urge all of you to cancel the existing Flock contract. The continuation of these cameras in San Marcos is very dangerous and infringes on our individual liberties, but also on our most marginalized communities. The use of this technology can be easily misused. For example, in 2022, a Ketchie, Kansas police officer was arrested for using the Flock system to stalk his former wife. This incident highlights the potential for misuse by individuals with authorized access to the system. The system's ability to track vehicles' movements raises concerns about privacy and the potential for abuse and domestic violence situation. Especially if anyone can just pay a fee to subscribe to Flock, opens the door to domestic abusers and anyone intending to harm anybody else. Some agencies use cameras to monitor and target individuals participating in protests or other forms of activism. For example, the University of Iowa Police Department was accused of using Flock cameras to arrest an organizer during a 2023 protest. This raises concerns about the potential for the technology to be used to suppress dissent and silence free speech. Lately, there's been numerous protests here at the courthouse or even at the Capitol in Austin. And even, what if somebody traveling from the protest is apprehended upon for exercising their First Amendment rights? ICE has access to the data via DPS. ICE can arrest our own neighbors here in San Marcos, especially as a Latino, mostly city and very diverse city. I'm worried this technology will be used to discriminate against people who look like me. And we need to follow the decisions made by our own county and by our neighbors in Lockhart and Austin. I urge the council to cancel the Flock and any automatic license plate readers contracts. And, yep.
Eli Doyle.
Hello, Council. My name is Eli, and I have been a resident of San Marcos for over 12 years now. I'm speaking tonight to urge you with every fiber of my being to fully end your contract with the Flock cameras. They do not help us, they do not help keep us safe. They instead put us all at more risk for violence. At the community discussion this past Sunday, the question put forward to those in attendance was, what does public safety mean to our community? As someone who works in violence prevention, and as a person who is a survivor of different types of violence myself, I can share that mass surveillance does not make any community safer. One of the fundamental aspects to addressing violence in any community is first looking at how many social structures are built upon massive power differences between the people who make decisions in those systems and the people who those decisions most affect. A mass surveillance system only exacerbates those power imbalances. I ask that you consider how power and control show up in your lives. We have seen that despite the reforms that you, as City Council, passed, your decision-making power, your agency, was disregarded, disrespected, and ultimately abused because ICE accessed our and your and my and everyone in this room, they accessed our data. I ask how that felt to learn that power and control showed up in your life in an abusive, toxic way. How did it feel to learn that your agency was ignored? Another well-known instance local to Texas is a woman, someone in the throes of surviving a domestic violence relationship, was tracked as she sought care and support through Flock cameras at the behest of her partner who chose to continue to abuse her. The surveillance cameras that were present when the person who chose to enact violence on me were not a deterrent to that violence happening. And in the instance of this woman, Flock cameras were used to continue the abuse and violence she was experiencing. In response to this horror, Flock has said that they made improvements by including AI or intelligent reporting in their system. AI is not trained on neutral information. AI is trained on the same violent biases our society is tainted by. Flock will enable the violence of racism, the violence of sexism, the violence of xenophobia, any system that is already hurting people, Flock will enable. Flock is a violence enabler, not a violence deterrent. Our safety can only happen through trust, not surveillance. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Amy Camp. Is Amy Camp here? I wasn't sure if she was coming in to speak or. I wasn't sure if you were coming in or if you needed to take the little one somewhere.
Yes, I would love to be done with this. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Houston, City Council. My name is Amy Camp. I'm a San Marcos resident, a community activist, and as you can see, a mother. I'm also here to speak on item 19 regarding the city's contract with Flock Safety. You want to get down? You want to look at yourself on the TV? You know, I really want to echo what Eli said. I don't think these cameras make us safer. Obviously, it's been very difficult for me to come out tonight but I did come out because the issue is so important to me. And I just urge the city council to cease doing business with Flock. Let me hold you, sweetie. As Mayor Houston said during the vote against expansion in June, you have a real hard time. Oh, have a real hard time seeing how Flock is good for America. I agree. So please cancel this contract. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Maxfield Baker, joining us online. There he is, he's ready. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
We can hear, we can see you. Thank you.
Great. Yes, my name is Maxfield Baker. I too am here to join these other voices to speak against the expansion of Flock or continuing the contract. I know some of you are going to hear, community comments, especially about what happened on the square as a reason to continue this contract. I think that if we are going to move forward with that, then obviously there should be some concessions to what activists in the community are calling for more transparency and control over that data. And, the comment was made earlier about, well, I'm sure folks on, quote unquote, our side would have pushed for body camera footage. And, that is an interesting parallel between Axon and Flock and communities' calls for transparency around body camera footage as well as these Flock cameras, right? And again, it has to do with the narrative and potential control over that data that these entities have when it comes to making arrests and then filing that as evidence. There are so many areas where whataboutism can result in us, essentially throwing the baby out with the bathwater, where we've had a lot of folks show up and say we have concerns about this, but because we have one example that's fresh on the mind where this was a saving grace, we're willing to turn a blind eye to the potential follies of this kind of data and this kind of monitoring. So I know that many of you have been supported by the San Marcos Police Officers Association. I sort of anticipate that you've been hearing from those constituents about how important it is to keep this. But I attended the third of the city police staffing community forums, and I found it was really interesting. Bucky and the other gentlemen that spoke earlier were there. And I asked the question of the audience, who said that the cops have been doing a great job, but that we need more police and that they don't feel safe, particularly downtown. I asked the room who had ever needed to even rely on the police officers, and none of them have had to. I think that, many of them lived in a gated community, sure, but I think that, things, as our police data shows, are safer than they have been. And these kind of outliers are really the biggest, red herring when it comes to using, philosophical fallacies to draw us into spending money on something that maybe isn't serving us. And I'll fully admit, when this idea came along, I embraced it as a council member. I thought, this is technology, this is helpful. But then we saw where the data went and how it was being used, and we're uncomfortable with it now as a community and as a nation. And so I think it's incumbent upon you all to digest that, move this agenda item forward with a consideration to discontinue our contract with Flock. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Karen Munoz, who joins us online.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Karen Munoz. I know many of you. So as you know, I'm an attorney. I've practiced criminal defense here in Hays County and civil rights here in Hays County. And now I specifically focus on immigration policy. So I wrote a letter to this city council June 3rd, ahead of the vote that you all had then. And I apologize for the very brief redundancy, but just to read from that letter. So what I wrote then: just down the highway in San Antonio, ununiformed ICE officers have been detaining immigrants who have dutifully shown up for their court dates this week, separating families, with children often left to witness their parents' brutal arrest. The letter continues: in cities all across the country, ICE and other federal agencies are implementing this administration's mass deportation project and are often bypassing any local authority in doing so. ICE has confirmed the use of data obtained from flock cameras in enforcing this brutal regime. So, you know, we are here today, almost fully 6 months later. And of course, I applaud you for the decision that you all made in June. We're here 6 months later, though, almost a year into this administration, and things have gotten so much worse. Of course, the courthouse arrests that I referenced at the immigration courts in San Antonio are still happening every day. And the reality is that the mass deportation happens primarily through two ways. The first is through collaboration with local law enforcement, things like 287G programs, which our county unfortunately will have to join soon because the state is mandating it, right? We're of course glad that San Marcos PD doesn't, to our knowledge, collaborate with ICE, and we hope that that remains true, right? But so there's this one avenue, local law enforcement collaboration, that mass deportation happens in, right? The other avenue is through surveillance technology, because then the reality is that ICE cannot go after people that are not documented because they're not documented. So what do? Especially in local jurisdictions that aren't collaborating with ICE, their MO is to use surveillance technology like this. It's been said before tonight, and I know you all understand based on the June meeting, that we don't own the technology. ICE can access it. Even if our local law enforcement is not working with ICE, there is nothing that we can do to stop other jurisdictions, federal jurisdictions, from inflicting the kind of violence that I expect that you all do not want to see inflicted on immigrants in this community. Of course, communities of all kinds right now are under attack in the United States of America. I think we all know that. And I just urge you to do everything you can to stop that from happening, to mitigate that kind of harm. Really often, our rights as citizens, as residents, as people are lost at the local level through innocuous decisions like this. You know, Maxfield just said he agreed to this before too, right? But once we learn more, we do better. And I applaud you for doing the right thing last time. And I encourage you to do the right thing tonight and end the contract. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Crispy Polanco, who joins us in person.
Okay. Crispy Polanco. Somebody brought up Peter Thiel and Palantir earlier, and it made me remember, if you know anything about your fantasy lore and Lord of the Rings, Palantir is the name of the magic orb that the Dark Lord Sauron uses to spy on the people of Middle-earth. Just saying. In August, the Hays County Sheriffs had a meeting at the library to talk about flock at the county level. He even said while we were there that he wasn't there to change anybody's mind, which, okay. But he also came in bragging that he had just came from a trial where somebody was convicted because they were apprehended based off of surveillance cameras. But then later, when it was asked whether or not they could provide data as to how many arrests and convictions they get from flock, that data cannot be given. And if they're not tracking how many arrests and convictions they're getting off of flock or any other ALPR system, they're not tracking the wrongful detentions and false IDs. 5 years ago in Aurora, Colorado, a woman was pulled over because her black SUV's license plate matched a stolen motorcycle from Montana. But police pulled her over anyway, pulled her and her 4 kids out of the vehicle, forced their kids down on the ground at gunpoint, and even handcuffed 2 of the kids. And that was off of something from Montana in a completely different vehicle, in case anybody thought this will only affect people in San Marcos. Another case, far more recent, was back in September. I think somebody may have even already mentioned it, where a woman, again in Colorado, take that for what you will, she was identified off of a flock camera in a scheme to steal packages. Even though she had evidence that exonerated her, the police refused to listen to her, called the case airtight, and proceeded to give her a summons to show up in court. They didn't drop the case until she had to, bring the evidence in and show it. And these are a couple of high-profile cases, but there are plenty of studies out there and analysis. Just look at Oak Park, Illinois, where they show like widespread issues with Flock and false identification and false hits. And these cases go all the way back to the early 2000s. So if for no other reason, then the system just doesn't work, that is why you should just cancel the contract.
Our next speaker is Eric Martinez.
Howdy, Council. My name is Eric Martinez, and I'm the Executive Director of Mono Amiga Action. I'm speaking today to urge you to cancel the contract with Flock. Let me be clear. License plate readers like Flock do not reduce violent crime. Independent research, including studies in Atlantic City and reporting by Wired, confirms ALPRs offer only narrow investigative value and no measurable drop in crime. Police already have tools to track stolen vehicles and respond to Amber Alerts. Flock adds mass surveillance to every resident's daily life. Every trip to work, school, church, the doctor, a protest, or a friend's house is logged, time, date, location. That data builds a detailed record of your routines, relationships, and movements stored by Flock, a private billion-dollar for-profit company, and it's not secure. Flock systems have been hacked and data has been misused, including by ICE, CBP, and local police. And it's also been mentioned, people using it to track for abortion care. We're paying for this with some money from the general fund. Part of it is grant funded. That money from the general fund could go to any other solution proven by peer-reviewed research to actually reduce or prevent crime. Cities across Central Texas are walking away. Austin, Hays County, Lockhart voted against installing new cameras. San Marcos already said no to expanding Flock. Now it's time to end the program entirely and take down the 14 cameras still watching us and still watching you when you drive home. Flock's business model depends on collecting and storing as much data as possible, not protecting communities. Their civil liberties record is quite evidently poor. Their accountability is non-existent. And this opens up the city to liability from lawsuits. So it's more than just a contract cost. Real safety does not come from cameras. It comes from care, connection, and community investment. We urge you to cancel this contract and choose people over profit and privacy over surveillance. Thank you.
And our last speaker is Sam Benavides.
Good evening, Council. So for those keeping track or not keeping track, that makes 10 speakers against Flock safety and 2 pro. I hope everyone had
And
a
your
wonderful
name?
Thanksgiving. Sam Benavides.
Thank you.
I come before you this evening to speak with regards to Agenda Item 19, discussion whether to renew, modify, or discontinue the city's contract with Flock Safety. First of all, I want to thank each of you who voted against the expansion of these cameras back in June. Councilwoman Rodriguez, Councilman Gonzalez, Councilwoman Garza, Mayor Houston, and Councilman Gonzalez. Thank you each for your leadership and courage in making that vote. There is no doubt that the dialogue that the San Marcos community shared around these cameras in May has led to a ripple effect across our region, and I am grateful for and commend each of you for your leadership in that fight. Mayor Houston, your concerns about the ethics surrounding this company, coupled with your background in IT, provided a level of substance and insight that even for me, who was already fairly familiar with the cameras, and I think that the questions you raised were critical to that conversation. Councilman Lorenzo Gonzalez, your thoughtful consideration about Amazon Web Services, the third party that houses this data, was crucial to that discussion and continues to be a concern today. And Councilman Saul Gonzalez, your empathy and consideration for the impacts that these cameras have on our community, especially our immigrant neighbors, is thoughtful and clear. You each brought up excellent thought-provoking points during this discussion that ultimately resulted in you making a tough, precedent-setting decision that was rooted in true community safety, and I sincerely commend you for that. Tonight, yet another big decision comes before you. And while the question you will face tonight is different from that of June, I believe that the concerns that you brought up then are unfortunately still realities that we will continue to grapple with as long as we continue this partnership with Flock. And if anything, since June, we have only learned even more disturbing details surrounding this company's practices. Just a couple of weeks ago, through a video by Ben Jordan that I highly encourage everyone here watch, he revealed 47 security issues on Flock ALPRs that he obtained. And the video also exposed that people had been selling police-level access to Flock logins on the dark web. It was also just revealed last week that these cameras have indeed been used to target No Kings demonstrators. It's no wonder why jurisdictions across the country, including our neighbors in Lockhart and over at Commissioner's Court, have decided to cut their ties with Flock and prioritize the protection of the privacy of their residents above the false sense of safety that these cameras provide. Because realistically speaking, these cameras do not keep us safe. At the community listening session we hosted this weekend, when asked what safety meant to our community, our neighbors listed things like access to mental health resources, housing, sidewalks, streetlights, being able to walk in their neighborhoods without fear, and services that actually meet people's basic needs. I ask that you continue to prioritize these services that actually keep our neighbors safe, which I know you all have been working to do, and cancel the contract with Flock. Thank you.
And that concludes the citizen comment portion of our program this evening. Next, we have item 1.
Receive a staff presentation on the financial report for the quarter ending September 30, 2025, and provide direction to the city manager.
Mayor, before that, could I?
Yes, ma'am. My
Please.
apologies.
No,
I
that's-
wrote my note in the wrong place.
That's okay. I would just like to introduce Terry Floyd, who is our Director of Planning and Development Services. He's new to our city, and Terry brings more than 17 years of municipal experience, including leadership roles in planning, development services, code enforcement, housing programs, capital initiatives, and neighborhood revitalization. He most recently served as the Director of Development Services for the City of Wichita Falls, where he oversaw planning, building inspections, code enforcement, housing, and CDBG programs, as well as several city board and commissions. Terry's background also includes work with the City of Norman and the City of El Reno, where he led cross-departmental coordination, long-range planning efforts, and multiple community-focused initiatives. We are grateful that Terry has chosen San Marcos as his new community, and we look forward to all that we will accomplish together with his diverse range of knowledge and expertise in local government. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Floyd to the City of San Marcos. Thank you.
Welcome.
You want to say anything?
Just very briefly, I wanted to thank the City of San Marcos for their faith in me, and I'm very excited to join. I started last week on a short week. That's how excited I was to join. And so you have a very, very awesome community, one that my family and I are looking forward to joining soon and moving here, and also a very great group of municipal professionals, and I'm honored to be part of the team. So looking forward to working together for you to make San Marcos the best place we possibly can for our residents.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
But most weeks we work 5 days. Most weeks we work 5 days.
Yes.
Last week was a good week.
Sorry, Mr. Locke.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This item will provide a financial summary of the activity through the final quarter, September 30th of 2025. The Finance and Audit Committee met on November 20th, and at that meeting, the committee received the detailed report that was included in the packet for this particular agenda item. This item only provides a summary. The slide provides all the major operating funds. It has the revenue and expense budget and where the actual revenue and expense activity came in. And then at the percent of budget, you'll see they're color coded, and there's a legend down to the lower left that shows if we're on target or within 2.5%, it would be green. If we were on watch, it'll be off of the 3-year average between 2.5% and 5%. And if it's over 5%, then it would show up as red. Most of the items are green now that we are at the end of the fiscal year. Just a couple of things I would like to point out. In the general fund, I wanted to point out sales tax. The total sales tax budget was $39 million, and we brought in $38.7 million. So we were $300,000 short of budget, but the good thing is that we were $75,000 higher than the total sales tax we collected in fiscal year 24. So we did see some growth. So we should be excited for that. In fiscal year 24, you may recall that we actually saw a decline of $1.3 million. So I was happy to see sales tax rebounding. Also wanted to point out the hotel tax fund. You'll see in yellow, the total revenues were shorter than budgeted. It's a smaller fund, so the percent varied, shows up larger because it is a smaller fund. The reason for that, though, there were a couple hotels that are past due in their hotel tax payments. We have been in contact with these hotels, and they are going to be submitting the reports and the past due payments. So we're working with them to do that. Once we receive that, that amount would be $300,000. So that would actually take us over the budget for fiscal year 25. On the expense side, there were several one-time expenses that did not occur. There was wayfinding and historical funding at a total of $875,000. And there was also permanent art and murals at $711,000 that'll be carried forward from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 26. So that's why the expense budget is low. That concludes the financial summary. Be happy to address any questions you may have.
Council questions? Anyone? I like the dashboard. Thank you. So does that conclude this item?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then Ms. Trevino, if you would read item 2 for us, please.
Receive a staff presentation on the investment report for the quarter ending September 30, 2025, and provide direction to the city manager.
Thank you again, Mayor and City Council. This item, just like the first item, was presented to the Finance and Audit Committee. There was a more detailed report provided to them. That was included in the packet. This just provides a financial summary. As you look at this slide, you see that the total value of the investments as of September 30th is $463 million. If you looked at the total balance in the June report, it was $500 million. So it is down from the June report, and that is to be expected at this time of the year. We receive our property tax early in the year, and then we spend those down as we move throughout the year. Also, in the final quarter is when we make our large principal and interest payments on debt. In total, that's $36 million. So we build it up throughout the year, and then when we make those large payments, it brings down our fund balance. If you move to the center of the slide, it shows the current average yield. For the portfolio, it was just over 4%. And you can see there compared to the 6 and 12-month Treasury that it outperformed our benchmark. And to the right of that, it has a rolling 12-month yield, and that's 4.4%. And you can also compare that to the benchmark underneath it, and we just exceeded those as well. At the very bottom of the slide, it has our total interest earnings. For the fourth quarter, we earned $4.9 million, and that brought our total interest earnings for fiscal year 25 to just under $19.7 million. To the right of that is something called bank fees offset. That's the amount of fees we did not pay in our demand accounts because we keep a certain balance there so that we won't have to pay those fees. And in the fourth quarter, it was $13,000, and for the year, it was $47,000. And that concludes the investment overview.
All right, council, any questions? Summary's great. Thank you. Okay, so now we will go on to our consent agenda. Following ordinances, resolutions, et cetera, numbered 3 through 9, may be acted upon by one motion. No separate discussion or action is necessary unless a council member asks to pull that item, in which case we'll consider it after our public hearings. Council, anything that you wish to pull for discussion? I'm pulling item 6. Any other pulls? Okay, then I would accept a motion to do 3 through 5 and 7 through 9. Motion by Ms. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Saul Gonzalez.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Garza.
Aye.
Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Thank you. And Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez.
Aye.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay, so moving on to item 10, starting the public hearing portion of our program.
Hold a public hearing to receive comments for or against ordinance 2025-49, amending the project plan and reinvestment zone financing plan for the tax increment reinvestment zone number 5 downtown TERS to increase funding in support of an annual downtown operations and project plan, authorizing city manager or her designee to execute the amendment on behalf of the city, and including procedural provisions, and declare an effective date, and consider approval of ordinance 2025-49 on the first of 2 readings.
Okay, presentation.
Thank you again, Mayor and City Council. John Locke, Finance Director. On September 18th, the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, or TERS, Board for the Downtown TERS approved an amendment to the Project Plan and Reinvestment Zone Financing Plan. The amendment expanded the proposed projects to include an additional $175,000 of projects. Those projects included a photometric study of downtown alleys for $20,000, bike racks for $2,000, trash and recycling receptacles for $18,000, sidewalk capital improvements for $65,000, a planting project, phase 2 of the planning project for $20,000, and an art project that's intended to lead visitors throughout downtown for $50,000. Prior to these projects being included into the plan, state law requires a public hearing be held prior to council considering the amendment. And that concludes the introduction to the public hearing.
Okay, then I will open the public hearing and ask anyone who wishes to speak for, against, or about this item, please step forward. I don't think we have anybody signed up for online. Anyone wish to speak on this? Going 3 times. I will close the public hearing and I will ask for a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Scott, seconded by Ms. Rodriguez. Are there any questions, concerns, thoughts? We're bringing in this money, and the money is set aside to improve and help out downtown, and that's what the request is for. So if everybody's good.
Mayor, do we want to kind of get, maybe provide a little bit, I know we both sit on the committee, provide a little bit more information on the photometric study?
Go right ahead.
Okay. So the TERS board, we met, 2 weeks ago now? Post the tragedy that happened downtown. And for those who don't know, the TERS board makeup is myself, Mayor Jane, Judge Becerra, Commissioner Inglesby, and what is Kyle's last name?
Elias.
Those are 2 different.
Elias.
Okay. And I bring that up because it just to highlight the collaboration. But when we talk about the tragedy that happened downtown, one of the discussions that came out of that was the lack of lighting that's available downtown. And so the photometric study that's included does cover the entire TERS district, which is not just encompassing of downtown. But to make sure that we as a council, we as a board, prioritize downtown, that portion of the project will be completed first, and then we'll move to the duration of the entirety of the tourist district, which includes some familiar neighborhoods that have desperately needed infrastructure like this, and part of that comes from producing a study. So I appreciate the TERS board, Mayor, serving with you, and just to see a direct response that business owners, people downtown, people who use downtown were wanting. So, yeah.
Actually, and you're right, what happened recently does certainly highlight the need for this, but we were on this even before that happened, recognizing that we need more light, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Are there any questions from anybody?
I'm ready.
We shall vote.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ms. Garza.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez.
Aye.
And Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All righty, we will go on to public hearing item 11.
Receive a staff presentation, hold a public hearing to receive comments for or against Resolution 2025-234R. Authorize the submission of the 2024 and 2025 Community Development Block Grant Annual Performance Report and the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development and declare an effective date, and consider approval of Resolution 2025-234R.
Presentation.
Okay, I am Carol Griffith, Housing and Community Development Manager. This is the CAPER, the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. It is about the Community Development Block Grant programs, and it covers the year between October 2024 and September 2025, using any CDBG funding that we have at all. So it could be prior years, but it looks at what we did in that time period. HUD does require staff to bring this to City Council, provide you an opportunity to see it, and then provide the public opportunity to comment as well. Next slide. So regarding city projects, 10 homes were repaired during that time period. 2 dilapidated structures were demolished, and Swift Memorial Park and Victory Gardens Park amenities were upgraded. The design for the Thorpe Lane Sidewalk project began as well, and it will be constructed in 2026. Next slide. CDBG also provided funding for social services provided by nonprofit agencies. This funding helped train advocates for foster children, support the services provided at the children's shelter, and partially fund a family violence program, and provide for emergency assistance such as rent and utility payments. Next slide. We also report in this report on other CDBG programs, CDBG mitigation, which was provided to the city in response to the 2015 floods, and the CDBG coronavirus response grant that we are still just wrapping up. In the October 2024 through September 2025 timeframe, the Blanco Riverine and Blanco Gardens stormwater infrastructure projects were completed with CDBG MIT. Additional gauges were installed that are connected to the Hays County Flood Emergency Warning System. And Public Works installed permanent gates at critical low water crossings. So that's all for flood mitigation. The CDBG CV funding was used to provide assistance to 20 people. Next slide. The CAPER, the report, was posted for public comment from October 18th through November 5th, online and on paper in the library and at City Hall. No comments were received. This evening, the City Council will hold a public hearing to receive any comments on the report, and then staff is requesting that council approve it for submission to HUD. Next slide. This concludes my presentation.
Okay, I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak. I believe no one had signed up. So if anybody in chambers or the lobby or within the sound of my voice would like to speak for, against, or about this item, now would be the time. Going once, twice, 3 times. I will close the public hearing and await a motion
So
from
moved.
council. Motion by Ms. Rodriguez, seconded by,
Second.
seconded by Saul Gonzalez. All right. Council, are there any questions, comments on this? Ms.
Just one,
Rodriguez?
Mayor. Ms. Griffith, I apologize for not sending you this question ahead of time. In the actual caper, when it talks about, under the park and public facilities category, the two projects, the sidewalk, which I know you mentioned, there was another one listed, the Outsiders Homeless / Addition Recovery Facility, and that both of these will not be completed until the 2025-2026 program year. That second one, what is that?
Outsiders Anonymous was is an organization that proposed a facility for homeless former addicts. It qualified as a public facility because it focused on homeless people. It's kind of a quirk of CDBG regs. We have not heard from them recently, and really I'm going to follow up with them to see if we need to go ahead and transfer that funding to something else in the upcoming round of applications, or if they will indeed be ready to move forward at some time soon. They technically have 8 years to spend the funds, but we really like to see them move faster than that. So
Sure, I
we'll
mean,
be
our
checking.
community probably too. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for all your work on all of this.
Thank you.
Thank you and all the staff and everyone who's out there using this money from the federal government, HUD, right? Okay. HUD to make things better for the people in our community. So thank you and to your staff and to those that are working to get this money spent in good ways. Other questions, comments, concerns? We will vote. Ms. Trevino?
Right, Ms. Garza.
I'm driving, so I can't turn on my camera. I'm on my way to Chambers, so you don't have to count me for this.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Houston.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza. Yes, thank you. Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
And Mr. Saul Gonzalez.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes 6-0 with one absent.
All right, on to item 12.
Receive a staff presentation, hold a public hearing to receive comments for or against ordinance 2025-50, amending the official zoning map of the city by rezoning approximately 26.76 acres of land generally located southwest of the intersection of Wonder World Drive and State Highway 123 from future development district to character district 5, are subject to the consent of the owner and other less intense zoning districts, including procedural provisions, and declare an effective date, and consider approval of ordinance 2025-50 on the first of two readings.
Presentation.
Hi, good evening. David Soto, Planning Manager. The applicant is requesting a rezone from future development FD to Character District 5, CD5. The property is approximately 27 acres and is located along Wonder World and State Highway 123, and is located within the city of San Marcos. Next slide. The subject property is currently vacated with an exception of an existing cell tower. Surrounding uses are a multifamily to the northwest and southeast, a gas station to the east, and the property was originally annexed in 2005. Next slide, please. The existing zoning of future development allows limited low density residential and agricultural, and it is intended to be a temporary zoning district upon annexation. The purpose of CD5 is to allow a mixture of uses, which include multifamily, retail, commercial, and civic. Next slide, please. As far as for our comprehensive plan analysis, the existing preferred scenario is a mixed-use medium and as within the community center. These areas are characterized by a mix of commercial and residential uses and are well-connected in a walkable place. Next slide. When reviewing the analysis to table 4.1 of the Land Development Code, we have mixed-use medium as our place type and the proposed zoning of CD5, it is considered. Next slide. As previously mentioned, CD5 does allow a variety of uses and building types, such as townhomes, apartments, live, work, mixed-use, and civic. There was no specific uses proposed by the applicant at this time. Next slide, please. The subject property is not within a 100-year floodplain or floodway. It's also not located within a San Marcos River corridor, and is also not located within any Edwards Aquifer recharge zone, contributing zone, or transition zone. Next slide. As far as for the infrastructure, the subject property is subject to streetscape improvements, this transportation master plan, the block perimeter of 2,000 feet, bicycle and sidewalk connections. And for utilities, they are served by the city through water and wastewater and Blue Bonnet for electric. Next slide, please. Planning and zoning did recommend approval for the zoning case as presented. They did have a question on a certain use to the north of the site, and staff recommends approval of ZC 2511 as presented, and this does conclude my presentation. I'll stand for any questions. I do believe the applicant is here with us in case you do have any questions for them.
Oh, good to know. All right, thank you for that. Okay, so I will open the public hearing. I don't believe anyone was signed up in advance. Anyone here wishing to speak for, against, or about the people have said sometimes I don't want to speak for or against, I just want to talk about it. So always say if you want to speak for or against or about. We'll need you to state your name and your address for the record.
Good evening, Council. I'm Jacob Johnson with SEC Planning, and I represent CC McCoy and REM McCoy Property Solutions for this project. And I'm open to any questions if any of you would have any. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Going 3 times? I will close the public hearing and await a motion. And I'll second it. Council, questions, concerns, comments? I have one. If the applicant could step forward, please. I think in the documents that we had said there wasn't any particular use of the property planned yet. I'm just going to speak for myself. I hope there's some commercial going in there. We've got a lot of housing units, and you know, we say we want to be walkable, and we'd like people to be able to, you know, have a place to maybe shop, maybe buy a few groceries or something. So I'm just expressing that as my preference. This isn't, okay, so there's at least 2 of us. I hope that's going to be in the plans.
Well, thank you, and we'll take that into consideration with all our efforts. At this moment, we don't have any user desire yet, or
Okay.
any land use
Okay.
for it yet.
Hopefully, Lee, when they look at the whole area, they'll see lots of customers, a lot of customer potential. All right, thank you.
Yeah, Mayor, real quick, if I can just follow up and kind of urge that, that is something that we hear continuously from people, whether it be surveys that the city sends out, whether it just be forums that the city hosts, or just us as conversations that we have with people on the ground. And so it really would be an urge that that is a high need that our city is, yeah, wanting. So that's sort of the hope.
Anyone
Yeah.
else?
I think the zoning is compatible to the additional sites, and I will be voting for it.
Yeah, CD5 allows a lot of different things, and we've approved a lot of CD5, and it ends up being mostly apartments. And so there's a lot of opportunity in CD5, and so we were hoping that someone will take advantage of that. Okay, if there's, I'm not seeing any hands raised. Otherwise, so, Mr. Trevino, we will vote.
All right. Mayor Houston.
I'm a yes.
Mr. Scott. Aye. Thank you. Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez. Aye. Mr. Saul Gonzalez.
Aye.
And Ms. Garza. Aye. Thank you. Motion passes 7-0.
Must have the microphones on back there. All right, that concludes our public hearing, so we will go back to item 6.
Consider approval of Resolution 2025-230R, approving the placement of mosaic artwork at the Price Center located at 222 West San Antonio Street in the budgeted amount of $15,000. Authorize city manager or her designee to execute a contract with the artist to implement the project on behalf of the city and declare an effective date.
Okay, I'm looking for a, just hit the volume down.
Yeah, I got you.
New phone, there we go. I'm looking for a motion on this one, sorry. Motion by Ms. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Scott. I pulled this one. The mosaic is beautiful. If it were going someplace else. What concerns me is the cactus, and I will read the question I had on our message board. As it says, there's a statement under the graphic that says, inspired by the greenery and flowers of the Price Center garden, and then it says she incorporated more cacti into the space. I haven't seen, these are my comments, in the Price Center garden, so why more cactus? And the response is basically that she chose the cactus based on artistic vision rather than just simply painting what's there. So I get that, but we are not Arizona, and we've been working for some time to, what were those plants we had downtown? Was it yucca plants or something, the long thin ones that were spiky and could hurt if somebody fell in them? So we've been trying really hard to not have that and to get more of the things that bloom and have color. So as beautiful as this is, I'm not voting against the artist or the concept, but I'm voting against the cactus. So I'm going to be a no. Anyone else? Mr. Mendoza? Is she just fixing your phone?
Yeah, she is.
Okay. Do you want to wait till she gets back? I'll give her about 15 more seconds. Yeah, it's on page, look at page 260. It is on page 261. No, the mosaic, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I think it's a great idea. No, cactus, no. So we're waiting on you to vote. I don't like the cactus.
Did you explain why?
Because we're not Arizona. I realize this is prickly pear, and it's not the same thing as the yucca that we had downtown, but we've been trying to have less cactus. I see that it's flowering, but I'm just having a problem with the cactus. So I'm going to be voting no.
Perhaps they can make a change that, do you like the rest of it, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I even like the flowers, just not that it's on cactus. I realize it's cactus flowers, so anyway.
Could I maybe have somebody from staff who was over this? Is there? Sorry? Okay.
I think she's right here.
Charlotte, do you have an idea on like the artist? Would she be capable of just like removing that portion?
Well, I know at the Arts Commission, when it was brought there, they've already made one change. They made some color changes and proportion changes on it. I know that the reason cactus, I know you're saying we're trying to get rid of them, but if all of our natural areas have cactus, if you go to, and I think she was trying to incorporate more of San Marcos than just the garden area, so making it bright colors and flowers, yet incorporating our natural spaces. If you go to Purgatory or Ringtail,
Oh, 100%, yeah.
You know, it's who we are also.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have an issue, Mayor. I hear you. But even that explanation gives me a little bit more context as sort of the vision's concerned. So for me, I mean, if there's not votes to take it forward, I haven't gotten a chance to tell yet, but if there's not votes to take it forward, then perhaps it can be with an amendment and not have the cacti. But I think something like this would look incredibly beautiful on that particular area.
Given the talent that's shown here, I think we could certainly have something that's still beautiful by the same artist. I just can't do the cactus. But as I have told people, I have been outvoted in public and on television before, and if it happens again today, I can handle it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Arts Commission did already make a change, perhaps that's something that we can make an amendment here in order to acquire everybody's support, because I know all of us really like things like this.
I guess on that note, my question is like, what would be the process then? Like, has the artist been given, I guess this is the first time, right, that we're giving feedback, but like
Correct.
this
It's already
body-
gone through the Arts Commission and they've approved the design. So it would have to go back to the Arts Commission to see if they
see.
wanted to change the design, and it would they'd either change it or they'd kill it, so.
Okay. Maybe my colleagues can do a blink, 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 blink if you support to give an idea. I just don't want to see this go down. I'm a yes, Mayor.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You're a yes for what's already here?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, well, where's?
So I have a question
Mr. Gonzalez,
on
this is now your turn.
the process. So if there was a motion to change it and then went back to the Arts Commission, and the Arts Commission then votes that they don't want to change the design, who wins? If we're saying we don't want to fund it if it has cactus and the Arts Commission says
Well, then
they
we
want
just wouldn't
cactus?
move forward with the project.
Interesting. Cool. I was just wondering what the process was. I'm not really have an opinion on cactus one way or the other.
Yeah.
It kind of hurts when you fall in them. Don't do that.
That's something else. I get that it's in the natural areas and all that, and I do know that there are things such as spineless cactus. I think maybe that was something that was bothering me, is cactus is something people don't always like, and it's like kind of dangerous, and I'm not sure cactus is a welcoming thing for a set of steps, although I know the steps are barely used.
Correct, and you have to realize it's gonna be in strips, you won't see it all in that design.
Right.
As you see it. I think it's subjective on whether you like cactus or not. I mean, a lot of artists put cactus, especially from this part of Central Texas, in their work. We usually are open to,
I think if it were someplace else and not on one of our buildings that we want to be welcoming to folks, it would bother me less and probably not enough to even say anything, but in this particular case, I have a real problem with the cactus, so I'll be voting no. Anybody else?
I just want to share, I really like cactus. I
I know.
I like to eat cactus. I think they're beautiful. I do hear the mayor's concern about it maybe not being an appropriate fit for the setting. However, if it is like we do it or it dies, then I'm okay with the cactus. Was that what I understood?
Well,
It
if
wouldn't
it fails
necessarily.
here, you'll take it back,
Well,
right?
if it fails here, I would take it back to the Arts Commission, and they would decide whether they want to reach out to the artist and see if they want to do a change to it, or if they are invested in the design that's there and want to keep it, which would mean then it doesn't go anywhere.
If they didn't want to keep it or didn't want to do it, couldn't they just do that project again and go through the whole process again?
Yeah, which would cost more money, because we've already done a stipend to the artist to come up with the design.
How much have
Oh,
you spent so
never
far?
mind.
It's 1,000.
How much?
1,000?
1,000? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mayor, real quick too, another point. In case anybody didn't realize, the land we're currently sitting on was Mexico, and Mexico is known for cacti. So for me, I agree on the necessity of having artwork that is indicative of the sort of landscape we live in currently. But I think this also is sort of tribute to the history that we know is in fact true too, when I first looked at it. Yeah. How many people have already voted when I was out?
We
Just us
did,
three?
we're waiting on you to to
Oh,
start
okay.
voting.
Okay, so it's two, okay.
I mean, there'll be other opportunities for non-cactusy painting. I don't know.
Just go look at the other artwork. There's not.
I don't like a lot of those. Just kidding.
Well, there's that. I think we're ready to vote, Ms. Trevino.
All right, Mr. Scott,
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza,
Aye.
Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez?
No.
No, okay. Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez?
If it wasn't for the $1,000 cost to relook at it or redo it, I'm gonna go ahead and vote, keep it the way it is.
Thank
That'd be
you.
an aye.
Thank you. Ms. Garza.
Aye.
Mayor Houston.
No.
Okay, the motion passes 5-2.
Okay, and that
Thank you.
takes us to our non-consent agenda, and the first item is item 13.
Mayor,
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to ask if it was possible for us to
Speak up, please.
bring up, what is it, item 18, 19?
I think you're probably talking about 19.
Did I say 18, 19? Clearly, I'm not doing very well right now.
Yes, 19, I'm guessing.
I don't care, like, at what point higher up, I just think, I'm not sure I'm gonna last that long. So we wanna do this. I also don't know if you wanted to take a break since it's like 7:15.
If we're about to do 19, we'll do a break. If we're going to do these others, probably press on. So the question is, can we move 19 sooner? And if so, when? And I need direction from council as to which one to do.
Maybe I'm assuming, I think Mr. Scott is asking why, sort of the rationale. Similar to similar decisions that we've made in the past where there's a lot of people waiting for an item to speak.
For the agenda though, we only have.
It's incredibly short.
So why don't we just run through it and get done with it?
So you asked the rationale. That's a rationale.
Okay, I have a no, I have a yes. I need to hear from everybody else.
I don't care, whatever works with the majority.
That doesn't help.
Okay, I guess it'd be, there's 3 more items before that one, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, go by fast.
Okay, so you're a no?
No.
You're a no. Mr. Mendoza? We're burning daylight here.
Sorry, it's weird because I'm
I know you
I'm a
don't feel
yes. I'm a yes.
You're a yes, okay. So that moves it up, and I think that that discussion's going to take a while. So we are going to take a break now. It is 7:17. Be back at 7:25. If I have 4 people, I'm starting the meeting. From our break, it is now 7:25, and we are going to do item 19 next. Ms. Trevino.
Discussion regarding whether to renew, modify, or discontinue the city's contract with Flock Safety and provide direction to the city manager.
Okay.
Mayor, before we begin, I needed to state that I'm currently in the employment process with an outside entity whose work could intersect with the nature of this item.
Okay.
So even though there isn't any legal conflict, just to stay clear of any perceived conflict, I am choosing to abstain from this discussion.
All right. So we will leave that on record, and thank you for explaining why you have to abstain. So that was good.
Looking for employment, I think.
So I'm going to look to the 2 people who put this on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I can go first, unless, Amanda, do you have any opening words? I just want to say first, I appreciate our neighbors' continued conversation about surveillance in our community, and also my colleagues who engage in such a thoughtful dialogue. Last time, we had to decide on a Flock item, and now we are here to talk about the renewal. And I realize, I just want to recognize that it might be a little bit confusing for our neighbors, given that we didn't have any supporting documentation on the agenda item initially up until yesterday. And so Councilwoman Rodriguez and I asked our city staff if they would update some information and upload the contracts. So just want to let our neighbors know that we have that on there. And having said that, if we could bring up the PowerPoint with the timeline, that would be helpful, because I wanted to start oh wait, I wanted to start by talking about how we got here, and I think city staff is best equipped to explain that. I guess one additional comment, I just wanted to name that there was confusion amongst this body and amongst some city leadership regarding what contracts we have voted on, what contracts our council has seen on here on the dais, what all our neighbors have been privy to. And so I guess before I ask staff to kind of walk us through this timeline, I want to see if Amanda has anything else to add.
I mean, I'm fine giving historical context first, and if we want to get into the discussion afterwards, that's fine with me.
I don't know whoever handled the contracts.
Oh, I'm gonna, tonight, what I'm gonna do is whenever we're looking for staff, I'm gonna look to Ms. Reyes and let her either respond or direct who will be responding.
So on the timeline, I have a more comprehensive timeline that I prepared
Please.
myself by looking at things last night to really make sure that it told the whole picture of kind of how we got here. So I want to begin by acknowledging the use of license plate reader technology with Flock as a significant policy consideration. This discussion directly aligns with council's strategic priorities of public safety, core services, and fiscal excellence, particularly the commitment to responsibly leverage technology to enhance community safety while upholding transparency, accountability, and personal privacy, and that actually is from council's strategic priorities directly. At this time, I have a general understanding of council's views regarding potential expansion of the LPR system. However, what remains unclear and what is essential for staff moving forward is whether council supports the continued use of LPR cameras at all. This foundational policy decision will shape staff's approach to future contracts, grant opportunities, and operational use of the system. While I have administrative authority to renew the agreement for an additional one-year term, I believed it was important to notify council members who had previously expressed an interest in this item that the contract was nearing its renewal deadline. Given the level of community interest and the ongoing policy discussion, I would like council to provide clear direction prior to any administrative action. To ensure shared understanding, I will briefly outline the history and timeline of actions related to LPR technology and the city's contract with Flock. April 19th, 2022. Council approved Resolution 2022-83R authorizing an agreement with Flock Group, Inc. for 10 LPR cameras. November 2023, Flock notified the city of cost increases and offered savings under a 5-year agreement beginning January 1st, 2024, including 4 additional cameras. Staff executed a 2-year agreement with 3 one-year renewal options. February 20th, 2024, council approved a multi-use agreement with TxDOT for installation of LPR cameras and state right-of-way. June 4th, 2024, council authorized a Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority grant for 10 cameras. August 20th, 2024, council authorized another Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority grant for 9 additional cameras. December 3rd, 2024, council approved a revised resolution for the August Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority grant. April 1st, 2025, council postponed consideration of a proposed contract amendment to add 19 cameras. May 20th, 2025, council authorized 2 Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority grant applications to support continued funding of 19 cameras requiring a 20% match. June 3rd, 2025, council denied the proposed amendment to add 19 cameras to the Flock contract. June 12th, 2025, staff issued a memo outlining SMPD's actions regarding LPR use, including deactivation of information sharing and updated policy language. July 5th, 2025, staff entered into an amendment with Flock, providing written notice to Flock of the city's decision to opt out of Flock's retention or use of anonymized data for the purpose of training or improving machine learning algorithms. October 16th, 2025, Councilmember Garza requested that the flock item be placed on the next available agenda, later confirming she would be unavailable for November 5th. Staff offered to schedule the item for the second meeting in November. November 7th, 2025, staff received a request from Councilmember Garza asking for clarification regarding the contract timeline and renewal requirements. November 10th, 2025, staff provided the original agreement entered into in 2022, the January 1st, 2024 revised contract, the contract history, and information that non-renewal required 30-day notice by December 1st, 2025. November 12th, 2025, City Management, Purchasing, and Legal met with Council Members Garza and Rodriguez to address contract and process questions. The council members confirmed the request to place this item on the agenda, but were unavailable for November 18th. Staff committed to issuing a non-renewal notice before December 1st so the full council could discuss full options of this item and provide direction prior to any renewal decision. November 14th, 2025, staff resent the November 10th information and the updated contract to council members Garza and Rodriguez with the original agreement entered into 2022, January 1st, 2025, revised contract, contract history, and information about the 30-day non-renewal notice. November 20th, 2025, staff issued formal notice of non-renewal to Flock and informed the company that further direction would follow the December 2nd council discussion. Flock acknowledged receipt. November 20th, 2025, staff issued a memo summarizing SMPD's LPR-related actions since June and advising that audit data would be made available to City Council. November 20th, 2025, the city clerk provided proposed posting language to council members Garza and Rodriguez. On November 23rd, I suggested a minor modification to ensure the posting reflected a discussion item consistent with council ordinance. November 25th, 2025, staff notified council that audit information was available and would be posted publicly for transparency by January 2026. November 30th, 2025, I shared with the mayor and council the non-renewal notice sent to Flock and the company's acknowledgement. This timeline is provided to ensure an accurate and shared understanding of how we arrived at today's discussion. Looking ahead, the central policy question for council this evening is not whether to add cameras, but whether the city should continue using LPR technology with Flock. Council's direction on this issue will guide administrative decisions regarding the contract as well as future operational and grant considerations. Staff remains committed to implementing whatever policy direction council establishes and ensuring that any technology used in our public safety operation reflects our community's values of transparency, accountability, and respect for personal privacy. Thank you. We are available to answer any questions.
Hi, Matthew. I guess I want to say thank you for that. I spent a considerable amount of time thinking I was going insane because I simply could not find the 2020, what was it, 2024? 2023 contract. And I do appreciate the flexibility that the staff had, given that the majority of us were unaware of this auto renewal clause. I think that it's a super important topic for our community, clearly, and so I appreciate you all working together to inform us and also to ensure that we were able to have this conversation now. Do any of my colleagues have any questions about the trajectory of the contract?
So what were we talking about? I thought that was interesting about the auto renewal. That kind of caught my attention. I know that we do a lot of automatic city manager renewals and stuff like that, but when it comes to contracts with companies, that's one thing I definitely want to know.
So I think, and this is not an uncommon, whenever there is a contract that city council authorizes and there is something that is under $100,000 that comes up administratively, then that's when we do that. Up until April 1st of 2025, there had been no discussions against not using the Flock's technology by council as a body. So as city manager, when a company comes to us and says, you can save money, and it's technology that council has endorsed utilizing, then that is when we look to see, okay, is this authorized under state law to allow the administrative authority to do that, and if we save money with it. So that is what council had already originally approved that agreement. And so what it would mean is just for future contracts, if you don't want any kind of renewal, if you don't want anything like that as a council and you want every single thing to come back to you, then that's something that y'all can include and make sure that that's something that's very clear for any future contracts that the city would enter into. But this was technology that council had authorized. It was technology that council had said that you supported at the time. That was one of your goals, your strategic priorities. And I had heard even from several of you of, you want more cameras where we could. And Flock gave us savings and that. And so that was the reason that that contract was entered into. It wasn't deviating from a policy discussion that had not previously been brought to mayor and council and gotten your authorization.
I missed it. It's probably, I just missed it.
Well, it didn't come to us. So I think that is the confusing part, is that the first contract came to us because it was $103,500, right? So above the $100,000 threshold. And I think what it was confusing to some of us is that we were under the impression that the city manager had the authority to engage in changes of orders, not whole new contracts, without the approval of city council. And as confirmed in our meeting when we met with purchasing, the contract in December of 2023 was not a change of order, it was a whole new contract. And so I think perhaps that's another reason why we got a little bit confused. And also, I can't remember what year, but we did change the threshold from 50,000 to 100,000. And so I know that that's also kind of confusing. So yeah, I don't know if I'm sorry to interrupt you.
But I did want to clarify one thing, because there's some talk about auto renewal. So what we have now is we have the contract, the second contract from 2023, I think, and I think it had 2 renewals. And there was a basis for that because, again, the spending limit is 100,000. So it wasn't set up for auto renewals to exceed the city manager's spending authority. In other words, another renewal would come back to council for that. But this is where the city manager, first of all, wants to get direction. Is this something council is, and of course, tonight's going to be the debate. Do you want to continue that? Because, yeah, again, it wasn't set up for her to automatically renew, because of that spending limit authority. So just to clarify, it's not exactly an auto renewal in that sense.
Right, it was a whole new contract that was decided on by the purchasing manager as the city manager's designee in 2023, right? So as y'all see in the timeline, another reason for the confusion, this is also for the viewers at home who have been deeply invested in following all of this. We updated this timeline because in the presentation given earlier this year when we were talking about an expansion of Flock, that those bullets were not included, right? So again, we had no idea of this contract because it never came before us, and it wasn't even listed on this history outline. But yeah, so 2023 was a whole new contract, right? And what we're saying is, it didn't come to us because it was below 100,000, regardless of whether it was a new contract or a change of order. It's within your right to approve that contract, right?
And yes, but what I would say is it wasn't for technology that had not been already approved and authorized by the city council.
That's what I was gonna
the key, that's the key component. Had this been a new contract truly that council had never weighed in on from a policy perspective, that would have been a whole different matter. But the body, the mayor and council had authorized the use of that technology and the number of cameras that were there. And that is the reason why when a company comes to us and says, and that's not an uncommon thing when it comes to Axon or any of these other companies, if they say, hey, our prices are going up, we're giving you an opportunity to save money, then we look at that. And again, until April 1st of 2025, there was never a conversation that this body was not supportive of the Flock technology. It wasn't until April 1st of 2025 that the conversation came up about Flock. And so I do have the ability to read the room, and I knew that there was conversation about Flock, which is why I told y'all that there was a renewal. The chief of police said, hey, Flock is coming up for renewal. Are we going to renew it? And I said, given the conversation that mayor and council has had, given the conversation that I know 2 council members have said that they're interested in bringing this forward, I feel an ethical obligation to not just auto-renew, even though that is part of my spending authority under this contract. I feel an ethical obligation to let the 2 council members know that this is coming up, and if they want to bring that forward for discussion of the body about not doing it, then I need to make sure that they're aware of this. And so I did not authorize us to administratively renew that until we could have this conversation.
And whenever we had the discussion before and said we did not want to add additional cameras, and we changed the way we operate in that we said this is going to be internal only, this is going to be for our use, not for the rest of the world. Even at that point, I don't think we said we want to talk about this when the renewal comes up.
No.
So I can see why you did what you did. So, I mean, that makes sense to
I mean,
me.
this was in November 2023.
Yeah.
Mr. Gleason, Mr. Prather were very, very supportive of doing these things, and as well as the majority of council members. And I know that may seem irrelevant to some, but as the city manager, when I'm being tasked with certain decisions, I have to weigh, is this in line with where my council would want to be? Is this an issue that my council would want to know about? At the time, that was not something that this council had said that you had any objection to as a body in terms of that use of technology. In fact, you all had approved the use of that technology. So this was just getting cost savings for the city and being able to leverage the ability to get those additional resources for the city.
Right, but when this renewal came up, you went, oh, we need to.
Because y'all had a conversation since then that reflected different.
Exactly.
I felt like it was necessary to let y'all know.
Yes.
Right. I appreciate that. I just have one more comment. With the, I thank you for explaining your perspective on why you felt that it was an opportunity to capitalize on with the cost savings. I think, and this is my last comment on the contract of 2023, it still doesn't sit right with me that I never got that until late in the game, but also that we were not explained the trajectory of these contracts when we discussed an expansion of it. And I think it's important there because the national conversations around Flock and how they do business with other local governments just highlights that sometimes they engage in these types of practices where they assert that there's cost savings, and it's really not a super great deal. But also, I appreciate your clarification explaining that it was technology that was already approved. I think for me, it was a very different contract, given that it was expansion in the scope, expansion in the technology. There was 2 different types of cameras. And most importantly, the structural change of the contract. So the initial contract did not include auto renewals the same way that this contract does. So I just wanted to share that, but I think Amanda had some comments.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Garza. Yeah, I appreciate you. I think I was honest about the fact that in talking with other cities who experience other city managers, I can't say that all of, in those conversations, all of them would have been forthcoming about the timeline. So I do appreciate that. I think I want to change the sort of topic of the conversation. You know, even in that little break, there was two people that came up to me who weren't previously familiar with this issue that asked me to call them in the morning about what this issue actually is. And so I want to actually kind of back us up a little bit and sort of give the public an idea of, and I promise, Mr. Scott, I won't talk too long. But I want to make sure the public is engaged and can follow along and doesn't just see us jumping into a conversation without any context. And sort of, I appreciate obviously the history on how we got here. Wasn't on council at that time, and so even for me, it's informative. But as already mentioned, you know, we as a council have had this discussion now going on 6 months ago. And I just want to talk about first and foremost some of the arguments made at that time. And I will eventually circle back to sort of that cost savings assertion that you got at a little while ago. You know, first and foremost, it was mentioned about a community town hall. I hosted one with some organizers, thankfully, this past Sunday to talk about this issue. Was surprised to see that this issue, compared to some other things around policing, actually brought out more people than what I initially thought. And more people with, honestly, a diverse opinion that I wasn't expecting. And, you know, some of the comments made in that are similar to some of the comments that we as a body had in June. And I want to start off with, I want to start off where we all agree on. I've worked with this council for over a year now. We've all had the opportunity to sort of intimately get to know one another in this service. And I think one of the things that we all can unequivocally agree on is that we want our community to be safe. I haven't heard any of you, even in the conversations that I've seen you have with people in this community, assert anything different. We may disagree on how we get there and have some significant disagreements, but I think we all can agree that's what we want. I want to say in the same way, you know, opposition to FLOC, it's not a fringe type of thing. It's actually something that has crossed many community lines. Many people have come out to say they don't want this. You know, we've talked about as a body that surveillance itself does not prevent crime. We've talked about that safety, which exists only as an illusion, is deceptive. We've talked about how we've spent a long conversation, and, you know, I think Ms. Benavides hinted at it earlier, the mayor, you know, you brought up a lot of good information that me as somebody who didn't have that background regarding the actual company itself. And I want to keep us at that being I don't want it to be department focused, I want it to be on the company itself. You know, I think when we talk about the expeditious nature in which this technology evolves, one of the talking points I've heard consistently is that, or I should say the two talking points that I've heard that is supposed to garner support for this is that these cameras they're not live cameras and they don't scan people. Those are the two assertions I've heard repeatedly. And I want to say that when I say expeditious evolutionary nature of this, what I'm talking about is right now, our cameras may not do that. And those talking points that we're using to sort of garner support from this body, support from the public, they may be applicable now, but when, I think it was already mentioned that when you open the door to things like this, considering how rapidly technology evolves, those assertions may not, in fact, be true 6 months to a year from now, okay? And so I want to set the record for that, because when we talk about us as policymakers and the responsibility that comes with governance, good governance, in my opinion, one of the things that I think sets apart a simple policymaker, a simple politician, from somebody who is a leader is whether or not you have the capability to have a visionary sense of leadership. Can you see things that aren't explicitly in front of you? And that's what I'm asking you all to do today. I understand that there are many people on this dais that this is a tough item for you to take a vote on. I want to empathize with that. I said the same thing in Commissioner's Court when commissioners were making this decision. It's not an easy vote. I know that for some people, taking a vote like this may lead to the assumption that you don't support law enforcement, that you don't support public safety, that you don't support XYZ. I highly, highly disagree with that. When I talk about visionary leadership and the protection of our people and sort of planning ahead in our minds, that does ensure safety. This is not taking tools out of the toolbox. Many of the conversations I've had with people who are sort of those fence sitters, they're heavily against the technology. But if this was a conversation of us having cameras that purely were ours and only, recording stuff that we had access to, that they would be okay with that. Whether I feel the same is a different thing, but I think it's there. So what I want to switch into, though, is sort of the assertion of the cost savings. One of the things that has been made aware to us is that Flock has turned into, and not an unreasonable one, a litigious issue, right? There are lawsuits now, okay? And so when we talk about a cost savings sort of benefit when it comes to this system, when it comes to this technology, what that is completely ignoring is the fact that by us engaging in this contract, it actually exposes us to a considerable amount of legal liability. And this isn't just hyperbole. And we are not insulated from what's happening nationally. And I say that because I want to actually name some of the lawsuits that exist. And mind you, this is in the year 2025. You have other cities right now, like Oakland, a suit. They are now, the city of Oakland is now defending themselves in a case because of its relationship with Flock. And because that city and that committee rejected an expansion of the contract, now we're seeing litigation. San Jose, Norfolk, Virginia, Illinois State, another city in California, Eugene, Oregon, Washington State, Virginia Court. It just, the list goes on. So people are starting to realize how nefarious this technology is and what's happening. They're suing, and they're suing our cities. And I can tell you whatever cost savings that may be sold to us today, whether it's sold to the city management, whether it's sold to the department themselves, I can tell you the cost of a litigation, I know you all know this, far outweigh that. And I know you also know that when litigations start to happen and they are successful, they don't stop. They grow in size. People get on board with it. You see class action, you see all of those things. And so I really want to urge us that we are no longer in a discussion on whether or not this is a cost-effective issue. Now the conversation has really started to turn into whether or not we as a city are going to willingly continue to put ourselves in risk of legal liability on top of all of the other risks that come with that. But I know that for not everybody on this dais, those risks hold the same weight. But I would hope that when all of us agree to be politicians here in the city of San Marcos, because we've talked about this quite a bit, that we understand we have a fiduciary duty. We have a huge responsibility. We also just got out of our budget year where we know that the money is not growing from trees. And so to continue this contract with this company without understanding the legal risks that it poses, for me, is not proactive leadership. It's not, it's just not responsible. And so that's sort of where I wanted to kind of paint the picture on why we're here. I know that all of us may not agree on all things policing and all things like that. I understand it, I have empathy, and we have discourse over it. But when it comes to this, I hope that we can sit here and make a decision and that really thinks about all of the things involved. So I'm happy to have discourse and all of that and hear where you all are feeling.
I got a quick question, if it's my turn.
It
this
is now.
Great, thank you. I was under the impression that downtown, that those were our cameras, that we own those. Did I misunderstand, sir, or?
Ms. Reyes?
And how many of those do we?
So I'll defer that question to Chief Standridge. Thank you, Mayor.
It is true that the 8 downtown cameras were financed through a TERS allocation, and so those do remain the property of the city of San Marcos. We were originally allocated 9, of which 8 are operational.
Right, and those, you can see them 24 hours. Oh, those are the real sophisticated kind we talked about one time, that you could program it to look at find a person with a red shirt or white shirt downtown, and it could search them down pretty quickly?
No, it's not smart technology. It's the equivalent of running a video at a convenience store and us having to go through the
Okay.
video reel to find what we're looking for.
Oh, okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure the public knew that we do have some that we do own, and nobody else has access to those cameras.
Correct,
Just-
and those cameras are not integrated into the Flock system.
Right.
Those are cameras that basically are the equivalent of having an officer or somebody standing right there 24 hours a day watching exactly everything that's doing. That's broader than license plate. That's looking at everything that's going on holistically within the environment, not just license plate readers.
During the incident we had recently downtown, where they used to find they were,
Yes, so the initial video footage related to the downtown homicide in October was from Fire Station 1, which was a City of San Marcos camera. That provided the initial image of the vehicle. The downtown cameras were able to discern the same vehicle and its plan of travel. Flock was then used to identify the actual license plate of 8 possible matches. And so within about 3.5 hours through Flock, we were able to find the correct vehicle.
okay, when did Flock come in with their cameras? At what point in time?
There was an analyst back at the police department during the first hours running all of that, and I have Detective Casey Tennant here to speak to the more specific issues, but all of that was occurring within the first few hours, and the suspect vehicle was identified in about a little over 3 hours. Detective Tennant?
Hello, my name is Casey Tennant. I'm a detective with the San Marcos Police Department. As far as details related to the homicide you're referencing, we were able to track movements not only of the car, but more importantly of the offenders. That ultimately linked us back to a location. And without those downtown cameras, we wouldn't have known they were at that previous location. With information gathered from a business that we went there, that's how one of the ways we were able to identify the actor.
Okay. And those are our cameras, the ones we own completely, 100%.
They
Okay. I
are.
was
They
just-
are not LPR compatible, but it is video that we received from them.
Right. And I think you mentioned also there was 4 more other cameras that were run by the state or by the county, or what type of cameras are those?
The only cameras that I'm aware of, and please help me if I'm mistaken in what I'm saying, is there's the 14 cameras that are through Flock currently, and then there's the cameras that are downtown that Chief Standards just talked about that are not related to Flock, that are not LPR, and that is the 8?
8 of 9.
8,
correct.
okay.
Right.
So those are the cameras that I'm aware of that are within the city outside of, obviously, Ring cameras and other cameras that are private cameras.
Right, right. Okay. That was my question for now.
And
Thank you
then
very
also
much.
the state right-of-way ones would be the other thing. I just want to make sure that that's clear too.
Yeah.
The state right-of-way ones that council has also entered into an agreement when it comes to TxDOT on those state right-of-way.
Is this part of this contract we're talking about?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's a separate contract through TxDOT that council has said that you could have them in our rights-of-way.
That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Did you say your question got answered?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, since no one's, I got one other question, Mayor.
Oh, I've got a whole page full
Oh.
to say, but you go right ahead. You go right ahead.
Well, I'm thinking outside the box here, and God forbid this never happens. Let's say we have a martial law come in, that we have a lockdown in town, and they want access to those cameras, the Flock cameras, where they have rights to look at those cameras. The way society's going now, who knows what's gonna happen in the next 2 or 3 years?
We don't even
Or
have
perhaps-
to wait for that, and
Yeah.
people,
Or perhaps maybe the question should be, is there a time, place, or way that someone could come in and take our control away from the cameras? Is that okay?
That's fine.
I think that's where you're going.
And I guess I would ask you to qualify who is they. You use the pronoun they.
What the government, let's say this is a martial law. And
My question is anybody.
Okay. And I think, and I'm going to defer to our city attorney, but I think any governmental property that we possess is clearly subject to subpoena. And so ultimately, it would be up to a court to decide in response to a subpoena. Mr. Geary can respond further.
But in a subpoena, there's going to be a particular, we're looking for this at this time or whatever. A subpoena would be fairly specific as opposed to just unleashed access, correct?
I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not understanding the question fully is, there's legal process currently, and there always will be for some governmental authority of some sort to, for various law enforcement purposes, seek city data, whether it's on video, or otherwise, right? But I wasn't sure if you were asking about could there be an unlawful access to this information as well? Are you speaking specifically about government access?
Pretty much government or someone that hacked the system as well.
Yeah.
Well, that would
Yeah.
be, yeah.
And absolutely, there's no guarantee that any of this can't be hacked. Absolutely, and that's true with our entire digital footprint for the city, all the data we hold.
Right, right.
We do the best we can. Okay, I guess I've got one question, and that is, remind me how long this data is kept.
Yes, ma'am, 30 days.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, and to the public, just in case you missed the last meeting, the decision that we made when we said we didn't want to expand and have more cameras is we limited the access to San Marcos Police Department only, correct? So,
Yes, ma'am.
So what can be seen from our cameras or viewed or used, information from our cameras, is only us, unless and until someone's got a valid need that they talk to y'all vet it, make sure, oh yes, there really is XYZ need. Somebody's been kidnapped, somebody's whatever. In which case, it could be made available, but it's not just wide open to, how many agencies were in the network? 600 and something?
I don't know the answer to that question.
That's okay.
We did cease proactively sharing all of our data in response to council's concerns over privacy. And the mayor is referencing what's titled the ALPR, Automatic License Plate Reader, Sharing and Non-Disclosure Agreement, and that agreement has been provided to each of you for your review. It is a fully legal document. And so an agency, other than San Marcos Police, who request in response to an investigation, has to fill out this 2-page form. And they certify that they need this data in response to a criminal investigation, or it could be an Amber Alert or a Silver Alert. Nothing is proactively provided until it's reviewed. And our our analyst supervisor, Patty Hom, is the one that reviews all of those to approve or disapprove. And since we did that, I believe since July, there have only been 20 external requests, of which 2 were denied. Chief Collette, is that correct? 20 and 2? 20 and 2. So it's not done very often.
And Chief, just for clarification, in regards to that policy, that became effective June 9th.
June 9th. Thank you.
2025.
Yeah, I think the document was finally finished up, but the action was taken shortly after our meeting.
Absolutely.
I have
Okay.
a comment about that specifically, Mayor.
Jump in.
So, in a meeting between myself, some community organizers, some commissioners of the Hays County Commissioners Court, our sheriff, and his captain and his chief, we were sandboxing, kind of walking through the flock program. And we, I don't know if it's like an affidavit, the document that you just referenced that had to be signed was brought up. And it was an interesting conversation because they made it seem like that document kind of made, if the county, my understanding was if the county were to enact, pass some policy similar to ours, that it would kind of render the program obsolete, that no cop's gonna wanna fill out the form. Like the whole allure is that it's like real time, da 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 da. And I just thought that it was a really interesting conversation because there was energy in the room to put up those type of safeguards. And the conversation kind of just revolved around, this is like from my colleagues, how just like working with Flock, like they would have to do what we did. I think it's like a PDF, right? It's like a PDF form that they have to fill out and send to you because Flock refuses to take into consideration like the local governing needs, which is like safeguards like this. Like there's been a lot of talk about how certain safeguards, like their basic internal changes within the program, within the software, that would kind of ease a lot of the anxieties and concerns of governments like ours. But Flock just simply is not interested in hearing those. So I just wanted to name that. But I do want to name that I appreciate that our city found a creative way to still at least put one of our safeguards if Flock's not interested.
When you say Flock doesn't have any interest, what do you mean by that? Did they tell you they didn't have any interest? Was it
So-
just a perception? What was
So, and I wrote this down, it was Hayes County Captain Smith, so he was the one, and if any of y'all know Captain Smith, he's like very candid. And so one of the things that stuck out from that meeting was kind of like when commissioners were like, oh, could we do this? And I'll give you an example. Even the notion of asking Flock if they could make it so that within their system, similar to how anybody in Hayes County has to fill in the reason for using it, right? Like you cannot go past the screen without filling that in, right? They're like, could we make it so that anybody tapping into our stuff also has to do that? And the representatives from the sheriff office, they laugh. They're like, no, they're not gonna wanna do that, And it has been in other cases, like, this conversation's been happening nationwide, where Flock's like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. Because, I feel like if if they wanted to, they would. Like, it seems like such an easy thing to do, software-wise. But yeah, they were not able to answer that question directly because while the county did invite them to speak when they were voting on their contract, Flock failed to fill out the necessary forms in a timely fashion, so they were not able to speak.
If it helps, Mayor, Council, we have 2 members of Flock present virtually, and so they could be prepared to answer any of your concerns. So please know that.
Okay, good to know. Okay, I will continue now, but thank you for that information. I'm gonna say some stuff I didn't write down. Generally speaking, I'm a law and order person, and my original thoughts on cameras were, well, they're out in public, if somebody can see me driving by, what difference does it make that, a camera has picked it up? I've got some different viewpoints on that now. But here's where I am. And this is due to their previous history. I have real concerns about Flock network cameras. For example, when I saw the data fields and how limited it was, I laughed, having done databases and taught them and created it for 20 years. I just said, I can't believe that there's not. Anyway, I see the value of network cameras, but I prefer that it not be Flock brand. I hope that we can change companies next year. However, in order to not have a gap, I'm considering, if we were voting, which we're not, I'm okay with renewing the Flock camera contract, but I hope it won't be in effect for the entire year. My wish is that we start looking for another camera network company. I'm gonna say tomorrow, but you know what I mean. Don't wait till November when this thing's about ready to, expire again. And bring us a contract as soon as, a word I've heard people use is practicable. But when the decision is made as to what's going to go in our packet, tell us then, don't wait until the packet is posted. We've got 3 days to look at it, or 5 days, or whatever it is now. I would also ask that we look at what existing lawsuits there. Mr. Gary? I also consider and look at what existing lawsuits there already are. The list that was sent to me, I'm not seeing any in Texas. There may be. So I would say we need to look at those, see how, something might apply to us. So I think we need all that legal research also. So that's where I am. I want to do something different other than Flock, and that's based on their history and not just because they're not really good at databases. Yeah, if you're searching for data, it was a mess at best. So anyway, there's many reasons, and I won't go into all of them as to why I'm not happy with the Flock, but I see the need for cameras. But I think due to what we've heard from the public, what you've heard from us, I think we need to look carefully at what that contract has, and if, when, and how we might think about sharing that information. There's a lot we know now that we did not know 2 years ago. Y'all know, and I suspect this is being discussed at your conferences. I would think this would be a hot topic there too, as to what's going on. So that's where I am on this. Is I'm not thrilled about the Flock, but I'm willing to continue it so we don't have a gap, because we've seen that it can be helpful in solving some crimes, or at least pointing some fingers at who we need to talk to about some crimes. But I don't want to stay with Flock. So that's where I am. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, Mayor. And then that's actually the direction I was going to ask my colleagues if they were going to consider that. And please forgive me, dental issues. I'll be the first one to say that I don't trust Flock. I don't. And that's working in the IT industry. But I don't want to leave the gap there, because as Mr. Gonzalez can attest to this, we block walked like crazy this year. And it wasn't so much block walking in the nicer areas that I had the concern for. Everybody kept bringing back, especially in Blanco Gardens, the drive-by shooting, the 3 murders we had downtown. I'm not comfortable with leaving a gap there. I would hope that we would look for something else to replace the Flock cameras, the Flock, company itself.
Mr.
Is there actually other companies that
Yes.
recommend?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one that's been in use for, I think, quite a while, and I don't know who new may be coming up, but I tell you what, the new people without history is concerning. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, anytime you're looking at something new, if somebody doesn't have a good history, you just kind of go, oh, we don't know yet. So, same as any product, whether you're buying a refrigerator or whatever. Ms. Rodriguez.
Well, I know you're not asking how I feel.
Yes, I was just going to say, this is not on for a vote,
Yeah.
because this is on for discussion by council, but we can certainly state what our preference is.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to just sort of address the whole downtown thing. I know there was comments made earlier about victims of crime and wanting to be victims of crime centric when we make decisions. I think when we talk about our care for victims of crime, it sounds like we may disagree on what stage of violence we choose to intervene in. And what I mean by that is, the reason I feel the way I do is because I genuinely am more interested in y'all never having to go to that scene in the first place. There never have been a body laying on that cold street without life. And I think if you probably talk, we always like to talk for victims. As somebody who's been on both sides and has lived through this, I can tell you, we would have much rather had our loved one alive. And I think that's sort of the crux and the frustration that I share when it comes to issues like these, is because we have all of these detailed conversations as a body, which I really remain heavily patient with. I guess what I'm losing patience for, though, is the lack of investment on things that actually show a return. And this is not showing a return. We constantly talk about ROI in terms of all of these other deals, in terms of all of these decisions that we make with, whether it be a business or whether it be whatever. But it's almost as if that return on investment conversation and decision sort of escapes the room when we talk about public safety. And we want to give people sort of that easiest option possible, which is these cameras. And so when we talk about a gap, not wanting to leave a gap, we have a huge gap in this community, a huge one. We have a mental health gap. We have a gap for people who are experiencing homelessness. We have a gap, and before I get on my soapbox, like that is a huge gap that we literally take our ability away to address financially because of our over-reliance on things like this, which are so reactionary. When we talk about when were these crimes effective in the context of downtown, it was after. It was after somebody's life was over, was ended. And that to me, as somebody who is governing in this city, is not enough. We were asked not to react to it, but to prevent it. And so I just hope that when we talk about gaps, I hope that when we talk about return on investments, I hope that when we talk about safety here moving forward, we really address the issue of what makes us safe. I mean, I had people from Kissing Tree come to that thing I hosted on Sunday who understood this and understood when I said, wow, when I brought up our budgetary figures and the disparity in funding. You know what they told me? I had no idea. I had no idea. Sure, their context came from the fact that they don't want our police overburdened. Mine, of course, comes from the fact that I believe that preventative care is the best care. It shows the largest return on investment. It's just, yeah, I had to bring that up. I mean, I hear y'all. If we want to talk about, I think one of the things I may have missed is sort of that term, that length that you're talking about on like when this is going to end. I think when we talk about, you know, direction to the city manager, are you talking 6 months? Are you talking 4 months? I don't understand what's going to change. If anything, I imagine the national conversation is going to continue to exacerbate in that time. And so I'm really trying to understand at what point are y'all okay with ending this contract as it may sound? I haven't heard that.
Right.
If this is the best we're going to get, then okay, I'll take it. But I don't want this to be a discussion that doesn't have some real date and time. So are we talking 6 months? Are we talking 4 months? Is that even permissible with the contract as written? To have a contract with terms that short? And if so, what is the cost for that? I mean, I'm kind of missing some details.
I think I was pretty clear that I do not want to be here a year from now and
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
another
I heard that,
renewal.
but-
And let's start looking tomorrow-ish. And as soon as a decision is made as to what staff feels is the best option for us, to let us know, even though it may not make it into the packet with all the details for, you know, a couple or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I want the process to be thorough, so I'm not gonna say a month or 2 months. I'm expecting and hoping somewhere between 4, 5, 6 months. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
But I don't want to put that deadline out there where they feel rushed and they don't have the time to spend to do the thorough vetting that we need.
Which, Mayor, I hear you, but the reason why we're here is Flock is waiting for a response on the direction of this contract. So there needs to be, I hear you on not wanting to provide sort of finite details, but they are sort of needing, and maybe I misunderstood, they're needing a little bit more to figure out where we're going with this and
So-
some sort of response
Yeah,
we provide back.
Let me ask a question real quick. What is the cost of this extension?
The cost of the extension, so Veronica, can I get you to answer
What
that
what dollars
question?
are we
Ms.
talking about
Bradshaw?
spending for the year approximately? And we'll need you at the microphone.
Yeah.
Oh, I was unaware that Flock sent us that. I thought,
I don't know, well, somehow if we're being asked to renew and money's got to change hands, we've got to have an amount. Somebody knows an amount.
Hi, my name is Veronica Bradshaw. I'm the purchasing manager.
Mm-hmm.
Flock recently sent in a quote for a renewal. I believe the cost for the renewal is $43,000
Thank you, that's close enough.
for 1 year, 43 to 46, I believe. Chief Standards may have received the
Okay.
original quote.
For some reason, 34 was sticking in my mind, but that may be from the time before.
When was
that.
this received?
Within the last month, the terms and conditions, as you read through the terms and conditions, the flock terms and conditions require that they provide us at least 30 days' notice in advance of any cost increase. That is what they did in this situation. They did provide us sufficient notice to advise there will be a cost increase. So the cost did increase instead of the 30, I don't have the specific number, but in the 30,000s, it went up.
To 40,
Right.
43, 40, whatever-ish. Okay.
Right.
That's close enough
Right.
for what I was looking for. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
So is that, Veronica, just to make sure, because I haven't seen that invoice, and so is that just because we're ending the 2-year renewal and they're asking for the 1 year, and that's with the new amount for that 1-year term?
That is the new amount for the 1-year term. At any point, if we had exercised or continue to exercise at any point during that full 5-year initial allowance of up to the 5 years, if we continue to renew, at any point, they can provide us 30 days' notice that they're going to increase that cost.
And we would have brought that back to mayor and council once it exceeds the 100,000.
Yes, that is correct.
So if the renewal was gonna take us into the 100,000, we were gonna have to bring that back to mayor and council anyway.
Yes.
It would have been helpful to know that when we sat and broke this all down and when I asked for everything regarding past and future flock contracts.
Okay, and I'm assuming that if we do this, if we pay this and we get the rights to a year, I'm gonna put it that way, that may not be legally correct. And then 4 months in, 5 months in, we say, we're done. I realize that we probably are not going to get a half-year refund, correct? I'm assuming that once we pay this, that's it, but that we will, and I really, really, really hate to spend money, knowing that some of it will not be used, but I think I personally can make an exception in this case.
Let me ask a quick question. So assuming I receive direction tonight to discontinue the flock contract, we've already sent notice to tell them that we wish to not renew the agreement so that we would meet the deadline, correct?
Correct.
So if mayor and council were to say that they wanted us to do it for whatever term that was, could that not just be a new contract that we could bring back at the next meeting in December? And mayor and
Are
council
you
could
talking about a prorated contract?
Yes. I'm asking if we could do an agreement for whatever that term is, bring another contract back to mayor and council. It would be in December, right? Because you'd be providing today that if you're going to do it for 6 months or whatever that's going to be, that could come back as a separate contract that's just for that amount, and we would negotiate what that dollar amount would be.
Yes, we could negotiate, yes.
Could we do that as opposed to, saying we're going to renew for a year?
I'd rather do that and say 6 months, and we might waste a month out of 6, but I'd rather waste 1 than 7.
Just so that there's a finite term and there's a finite dollar amount versus having to do a
Yeah, and we're
refund or whatever.
sure that they'll do a smaller amount? We don't know.
I don't know.
We
but-
hope.
But
Okay.
that's something that we can talk to with them about after
Mm-hmm.
tonight's discussion, and if that's the will of the mayor and council. And the other question I wanted to ask Veronica is, in terms of doing a solicitation, what is the turnaround timeframe for that, to give mayor and council a fair amount of time and fair inclination in terms of what amount of time you need to be able to go out and do that solicitation?
For a complex solicitation such as this one and the technology requirements, we could have something out and back in, meaning issue the solicitation and have the proposal submitted back in within a 6 to 9 month period. You have to consider an additional month at least for reviewing those proposals that are submitted to make sure that they are all responsive to our requirements, and then placing that going through the negotiation process, which could be 2 to 4 weeks, and then placing it on council agenda, which we always allow about 30-day
Sure.
leadway prior to that.
And that's what, I was trying to cut that 30 days down. Did you say it's got to be out there for 6 to 9 months?
That is going to be from the start of developing the solicitation, to get all the specifications that you require, and any additional requirements placed into the solicitation. Issuing that, we typically leave it on this, we call it on the street
Right.
for about 30 days to garner as much competition as we can. And then we receive the proposals in. We have to vet all of those, not only the vendors, but also to ensure that all the specifications are met. And that's where the time consumption comes in.
Mayor,
Okay, yes.
if I may ask a question.
Yeah,
Ms.
Mr. Gary?
Bradshaw, is the current agreement subject to the city's standard terms and conditions as an addendum or not, the way we do these?
We, in this situation, were required to use their agreement for proprietary reasons. However, instead of going with the initial 5 years as they normally require, I had pushed back and said 2 years with the option to extend for those automatic renewals, provided council and city manager approved. So we do look at any terms and conditions such as venue, application of law, indemnity clauses, those kinds of things. So we do incorporate our standard terms and conditions to the extent possible and required by law.
I just want to make sure, but not in this particular case.
Not in this
Okay.
particular case.
Just
But
curious.
some things of ours, like for example, the data belongs to us.
We can include that requirement in a solicitation.
I've been bringing that up for 10 years. Sometimes when I first got back on council, it wasn't in contracts routinely, and that was one of the things I brought up. Okay.
And I believe that
so-
is in this contract, if I went back and looked at that,
Yes.
Veronica, correctly, that it does say that it's our data. But I would want you to confirm that to make sure, because you are way more familiar with the contract.
Right, I would
Yeah.
need to review the terms and conditions to ensure that that's in there.
And is there any way for us to expedite this any quicker? I know you have other projects, and I know you have staff that's turned over, 2 people. And so what does that look like if we tried to get this on a 6-month time frame for us to not, as far as, and I'm just throwing out that amount of months, just because I know that's the desire of the mayor and council, but is
Right.
there the ability to do that?
It's an aggressive timeline, but we would definitely put this on a high priority and could get that back in. It might be 7 months, depending on what type of responses we get. You know, if we don't get any responses back, or if we don't get responsive responses back
Yes.
that meet our requirements.
Okay.
That's where the unknown comes in, that affects the timeline.
Right, and I'm all for when you've got a deadline looming, that we work in parallel and less in serial. So while you're preparing this and it's out on the street, tell me if I say, I always tell people, staff, if I say something illegal, stop me, okay? But is there any reason that our police department cannot at the same time start looking into companies that are likely to respond to the proposals, start looking into them, see what their history is, see how their product works? Is there any reason they can't be doing that at the same time that we've got this 30 days prep, 30 days on the street going?
We typically do that at the forefront, so as we're developing the specifications to issue the solicitation, we also.
Well, that's where you're writing your specs, I get that.
Right, that's
I'm
where
talking
we're-
about investigation of the companies.
Prior to issuing the solicitation,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we can reach out to companies and have that correspondence with them to get their information. But once the solicitation has been issued, the cone of silence goes into place.
Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about talking to the companies. I'm talking about talking to other police departments. What are you guys using? Are you happy with it?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about them doing during the time that you're doing what you do and it's on the street.
That typically takes place before we issue a solicitation. And in that event, it's possible that we could enter into an interlocal agreement if through that route, we do find a preferred or a suitable vendor that is acceptable to the city. That way, it would remove the requirement to go out for a solicitation. So there are other opportunities, such as cooperative contract agreements that we can enter into, or interlocal agreements. So a lot of times that lead-in that you're talking about takes place before we issue the solicitation. So it's,
I get that there's a lot of that because you want to make sure that maybe people you're interested in knows that we're looking. So, yeah, I get all of that, but I still think there's some things that could be done in parallel once it's out on the street.
yes, ma'am.
Just,
What if-
only legal things. I'm only asking about legal things. Mr., if you'll turn on your microphone.
Quick question. Let's say we go this route. Can those companies communicate with the flock companies as well? Or they all have to be related? And what I'm trying to say, if someone's gonna tap into it from a different city, do we have to have the same equipment? Software, thank you.
Are you talking about if we, what I used to call when I was software manager, piggybacking on somebody else's contract?
Well, since we
that
might
what
go
you're
with a
talking
different company, and right now what's out there is Flock,
Correct.
can we interact with them as well, our information?
I think I can answer that, council member.
Are you talking about converting data?
The system.
Yeah, the systems, yeah, thank you.
Why would we need them to?
Or in case we wanna, let's say
Well,
we're,
Is that not currently a selling point for this thing?
yeah, ain't that the main purpose of this?
Yeah.
To find out where they went,
That's what y'all are selling.
or where they going?
So then why would we want them to? That's what this does.
If I
I'm
understood. the-
totally lost.
If I understood the question, can a different vendor utilize any of the existing equipment? And the answer is no, because these cameras actually belong to Flock. They are actually leased cameras, they're not
Yeah.
ours.
Okay,
So presumably, if a contract were ended, they in turn would get all of their cameras back.
I already
Okay.
asked that about saving monies on cameras, but they're leases,
Well-
so no.
let's say that Flocks in San Antonio, that's what they use, and we use a different brand, different company. Are they gonna be able to communicate with each other?
I understand that question. Thank you, sir, for the clarification. If we have no existing Flock contract, then we cannot piggyback on another agency's search capabilities within the national Flock system.
But then what's the purpose of that? That was the purpose, to be able to trace somebody from here to Austin or wherever they might go if they have a different system.
So as an existing Flock customer, we can enter a license plate and we can search for point-in-time images from where that vehicle may have been captured on a Flock camera anywhere in the United States, as long as that agency openly shares their data. But you have to be an existing customer.
Does Flock have a membership
I see what you're saying.
available that would let us do that even though we are not using Flock cameras?
Great question, Mayor. The answer is no. That could change in the future, but it's my understanding, and after talking to Detective Tennant and Sergeant Villanueva, that is not an existing
I can see
opportunity.
why it isn't,
Right.
but Flock, if you're listening, just saying, as people are canceling Flock contracts, but yet there's a big Flock network out there, I don't know what that membership would cost. I may charge way too much. But I can see that as an option, that if we have a need for those others, I predict that there's gonna be others that are gonna be going to something else. The thing is, if there's a dozen of them out there and none of them talk to each other, that's,
I asked the same question, Mayor.
yeah. Okay,
I want to also be a little bit responsive as it relates to timelines, because I think you all need all the data points to
We
make a
do.
good decision. If you all ultimately go with a different vendor, choose a new vendor, even after the whole process of the contract is done, it's still going to take a minimum of 3 to 6 months for the permitting process before the cameras are actually installed and live. Just
why?
Because every camera has to be permitted to every specific intersection. And that permitting process, I just talked to Detective Tennant, especially for TxDOT, takes as long as 6 months.
Oh, for TxDOT, I
It's-
can
it's-
see.
I was just gonna say permitted through whom? It's through TxDOT?
I think all of them have to be permitted, and then the right-of-ways, as it relates to the ingress and egress on the highways, have to be done through TxDOT. And right now, it's taking a
And
minimum of
do
what, 6 months.
they have to know what brand it's gonna be in order to issue that permit?
I would imagine it would have to be specific to that specific camera, the power needs, because every one of these cameras are different. Detective Tennant, if I'm speaking out of turn, come on up, you may know more.
I mean, if we've got permits to have cameras, and we just say, look, we changed brands, it seems silly to me that it would take that long, but that's not a criticism of you. That's a, gee, what the heck is going on the other end? Okay.
Yeah, I think it has to do with placement, and then want to make sure that they're in the right place, they don't interfere with any view or line of sight. Most of these cameras, I have already looked at multiple other companies, most of them are solar-based. But as to my knowledge, they need to know who's going to be installing the camera, what equipment it is. And my experience is only with Flock, but it has, of the cameras that initially got approved, multiple of them never even got installed because they never made it through permitting.
And we also need to make sure,
Wait, can you repeat that part?
go ahead.
What
Off
never
of-
made it to permitting? What?
Off of before the decision with the MVCPA grant, initially some cameras were approved, and then ultimately they were decided not to. The ones that were initially approved never made it to getting installed.
You're talking about here?
Yes.
They didn't get installed in the original location, but they got installed somewhere?
They were in the process of this permitting deal. They never got installed anywhere.
Of the 14, our first 14?
No, I think they were talking about the
The MCV, the ones that got approved by mayor and council that had the 20% match
Yes.
and all of that.
Yes, correct.
So it's looking like it's gonna take a year to replace them anyway.
These right here, Councilmember Garza, June 4th, council authorized a grant with MVCPA for 10 cameras. He's saying that part of those never got permitted.
So we're not talking about Flock,
No.
when you're talking about some of them didn't get permitted.
Yes, we are. So we came to this body on 2 grants, both administered by the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority. One grant was 9 additional cameras, one was 10 additional cameras. And so we went to the state of Texas, because that's who administers these grants, and they approved it. It requires your approval. He's saying of those 19, they were in the process of being permitted. The process is so long to be permitted. None of them matured, so to speak, before you all ultimately said, hey, we're actually not gonna approve the grant at all.
Is that the one that was for 25,000 and we were looking to see if that could be spent in other ways? Is that the one you're talking about, has the
No,
guy's name on it?
That's a JAG,
Yes.
Justice Assistance Grant.
Is that different?
That's completely different, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. That's
So
from the
y'all
feds.
started permitting the cameras because we approved a grant, but we hadn't approved the contract with Flock.
Yeah, but these are not Flock cameras, correct?
These are Flock cameras.
These are Flock cameras.
These are Flock cameras that never were. You all originally approved the grant application. And so we went to the state, and the state said, yes, we'll give you the grant, 2 grants, 10 cameras, 9 cameras, plus.
Oh, these are the 19 that we
Yes,
talked
ma'am.
about?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Right, but.
You
But we
have
said-
14, you have 14
Yeah.
that we currently have, and then you authorize an additional 19 originally for this grant, and that's the 19 that
Right,
he's
but
talking
then we
about.
said no, so how did we even get to the point of looking for permits from TxDOT?
We said no,
Because you
like,
had-
we never approved we hadn't seen the Flock contract in front of us yet, right?
So I'm gonna stick with the grants.
Okay,
It's a 2-part process. You have to seek the governing body's permission to
Correct.
apply for the grants.
right,
You all did by
Yep.
majority vote.
yep.
So then we went to the state, we got the money for the cameras. That's communicated to Flock. Flock says, okay, 19 cameras, all right? So I would assume my staff, Commander Spriegel, Sergeant Villanueva, I'm not sure who does it, says, okay, well, we need to start discerning the locations and start the permitting process because it's such a long process. What
So
the
you
tech-
started permitting even before we got the cameras because it's such a long process?
Bingo.
And then we pulled the rug out?
And then you said, oh, actually, we're not gonna actually approve.
Okay, now it
The
makes
final
sense.
grant. Yes, ma'am.
Because you were doing things in parallel, trying to save time.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
But we never got the cameras then, right?
Correct. Did we get the permits?
But you said some of them were, and then some
That's
didn't.
why, yeah, I was waiting. So of the 19, 5, I guess, went on city streets, which is much faster. Those 5 were deactivated and taken down, and I don't have the specific date, but that's item number 2 in your memo. So those 5s were decommissioned and taken down.
So Chief, the 5 that were installed, because I remember in the memo y'all sent out, y'all did mention the removal of 5.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm guessing that those are the same under this discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
So the ones that made it on the street, that was prior to any contract being approved, meaning they were already there without a contract. Am I correct in that understanding? Because
Yeah, how'd
that's
those
what I heard
5
you just
get
say,
up?
so I just, maybe I'm
This
misunderstanding.
is the type of stuff I don't like.
I guess
I
I'm
don't
trying
know.
to, like, those cameras were
understand it.
live, they were just there, or can?
Just permitted and not there?
Well, no, it sounded like the 5 were placed because they were in the city,
Oh,
so the
'cause we
permit
got-
was
oh.
easier to obtain. But what I'm specifically asking, though, those cameras, the pole itself was placed in the ground.
These are placed on existing poles, but yes, ma'am.
Okay, so those existing poles, the 5 that we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
those were live or just there?
I don't know.
These are
What do you mean you don't
5
know?
of the 19 that we said no to.
You originally
No,
said.
no, no, Mayor, before we get
Right.
confused.
Okay.
We didn't say no yet, from my
Right.
understanding.
Exactly.
That's what's concerning me. So the 5 that you're saying, were they live or were they just there, waiting for an eventual contractual approval?
That's a great question, and I do not know the answer. Flock representatives may know the answer. Commander Spriegel or Sergeant Villanueva may know the answer. I don't know that answer.
Okay.
So we don't,
It just seems like the order of operations is kind of wonky.
I like the parallel up to a certain point.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I want
almost
to
a
understand about
contract.
the 5, because I didn't understand that the 5 were ever live.
And I'm not here to say they were. I'm also not here to say they were not.
Right.
Your chief of police he doesn't have that knowledge. The people who actually do the
But
implementation.
somebody knows.
Oh,
Was it
that's
call
the
a,
2.
call a, what's that show? Call a friend. Call a
From
friend?
the front.
I'm just,
It's phone a
phone a
friend.
friend?
We will
Yeah.
get that answer for you, Mayor and Council, so that y'all
Just hang
know
on.
Do any of y'all,
definitively.
do any of y'all know if it was live?
He's checking.
Okay.
He'll text.
Okay, so while y'all are checking, Mr. Scott has a question.
Is there
We'll
any-
come back.
Is there any way we can just create our own system and not call Flock or whatever, and integrate our own system and our own network?
See, people have overwhelmingly said they were fine with that.
We do have that downtown, I
I
thought.
thought we did, we had something downtown.
Okay, so remember we have the 8 downtown cameras that were financed through TERS.
Right.
Those are not license plate readers, and they don't feed into license plate readers. Those are just live cameras. So when something happens, like a crime downtown, we have to go and get the reel, so to speak, REEL, the
Just-
reel,
yeah.
and watch the reel.
Just like a convenience store camera or something else.
Yes, ma'am.
It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the,
But it's still possible to do that and be able to identify a license plate. Am I understanding correctly? If I
Or-
sit
or make
down,
it
I'm
model
looking through a
or-
reel,
Right. And
clip
that's-
it, zoom in, that's still possible.
And I'll give you the exact scenario, the homicide that occurred on Halloween weekend. They were able to find the car on those reels, but they could not read the license plate. So they were able to discern, we believe it's an Audi, we believe it's a newer model, we believe it's a 4-door. Somebody way smarter than me says, hey, that's the A3 model. How my detectives knew that, I don't know, that's impressive. They input that into Flock. Flock is the one that gave us the license plate. It took both systems.
somebody said that license plate reading technology had been around for a long
50 years.
time. 50?
That's
Wow.
what I remember.
Okay.
Oh, it has, yeah.
So back to your
Was it
question
Polaroid?
about building our own between AI and if any of that's out in, open source or whatever. I'm thinking that with the issues with Flock, that there are some folks out there that are more knowledgeable about this than I am, that are figuring out a way to put a camera network together. I'm thinking it's probably not that hard in today's world.
And maybe they'll start with a Barbara, AKA somebody who actually.
Let me,
It's
let me.
an inside joke.
I thought it was Brenda.
Brenda, that's right.
Okay.
What I'm wanting
Yeah.
to understand, and Mayor and Council, yes, I understand, we need to get you the information, you deserve the answer, the public deserves the answer about the 5 cameras, whether they were live or not on the motor vehicle, and so we will definitely get that. I guess there's a couple of questions that I have, first is if we get council consensus to move forward with some type of renewal with Flock for some period of time, is the answer because we don't know the time frame to do a month-to-month or something of that nature, so that we're not negotiating for any specified period of time, but they can still put a not-to-exceed amount or something like that if they want to do that. That's one option. The second option is it because we use other technology, is it something that could go with one of our existing vendors that we use that may employ or may have this type of technology in their toolbox? So that's the other question that I have that would make that a shorter turnaround time. And then the third question is that utility still there because you're not integrated with Flock and then you don't have that subscription to the other network? So just want to understand, just so again, they can make the most informed decision possible in terms of the options that are out there.
Okay.
And I've got one more, and that is in the contract. We need to please put in there that when the cameras come down, Flock is not to go and put them back up as they did in Evanston, Illinois. You can look up the Evanston Roundtable newspaper, I guess, that they took them down and Flock went and put them back up. This is after they quit the contract. Contract was, they said, no, go away. Took the cameras down, Flock went and put them back up, and the city had to send them a cease and desist order. So I think we need to make sure that when either the contract's ended or we've said we're done or whatever, that when they come down, they stay down.
Unless we gave our rights away for that.
Well, that's what I want to make sure is it's not in
Right.
there that they're going to come back and put them back up. Of
Do
course,
we
we'll be
know?
replacing them with something else, but anyway.
Yeah.
Fine print.
Just saying, it happened once.
I think, with a lot of questions on your list, I'm gonna try to tackle your second question. We do not currently work with any vendor related to cameras that offer license plate readers.
Okay.
So this would require a new solicitation consistent with what Veronica described.
So Axon, or even the ones that we use in the parks, the ones that we use for downtown parking, none of those would work for, since we do use LPR for other things.
So Axon is coming out with a fixed license plate reader camera. Yes, ma'am. It's not operational yet.
Okay.
Casey, is that correct? It's not operational yet. So again, that would have to be part of that RFP process to figure out when will they be operational and what will their fixed LPRs offer. That would be part of the RFP.
But what about the other vendors that we currently use that do the parking in the parks, the parking downtown? Those are LPR. So is there not the ability to piggyback on those agreements? I mean, I know you would probably need some time to look at those and see what their capabilities are, but that could cut down possibly on doing a solicitation if we have technology with an existing vendor and then it's a change order or a change in services for that particular vendor.
That's a really good point, because as you said, we do have, not the police department, but the city has existing license plate readers associated with parking enforcement and the parks. I can visit with both of those directors. I have no awareness of their systems, but I think that's a really good observation.
Yeah, we just went with a new company for the parking enforcement.
So
So let's explore that, if that's
Absolutely.
something that allows us to have something sooner rather than later.
Okay.
And then council would be up to y'all, but if y'all want to continue to not have a gap, with no cameras, then it would be us talking with Flock to see if they would entertain a month-to-month type of situation so that we can get through this exploratory.
I've got another question. Generally speaking, how often in a month do we need to look at or look for something using the flock system now? And what I'm leading up to is one of the advantages of the flock system, and probably others, I hope there are others, is that it's not manual labor of having to look through video. That you can say, I'm looking for this, and boom, it comes up with a location and a timestamp. Would that be fairly correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if we're talking about building our own, we may be back to your earlier point that you made at a previous meeting. So my question is, are we doing this 10 times a day or twice a month?
That's a great question, Mayor, and the answer I would say is probably about 2,000 times per month. We're running a query, and Councilmember mentioned ROI, return on investment. I have a ton of ROI. Just Sunday night, going into Monday morning at 2 a.m., Napa on Guadalupe was burglarized by 2 males.
Oh.
They were seen on their cameras getting into a black Toyota Tundra. This detective behind me, within less than 36 hours, located the vehicle courtesy of Flock and actually recovered all the stolen property in the bed of the truck, still in a city just north of us. We have a ton of ROI, but tonight, this is really your all's discussion, so I'm trying to stay in my lane.
Well, I'm glad I asked the question.
Yes, ma'am, but it's about
Okay.
2,000 times average.
So you said you have I'm so sorry. I think I interrupted you. Did you have a question? Oh, did you?
I was done.
I'm sorry.
I was still thinking loudly, but I was
Right.
done.
So you said you have a ton of ROI, and I appreciate that one situation. How do what types of assessment, like, do you undergo when, like, you said, I think you lifted up that packet, like, is that all your ROI right there?
No, I just asked CID, can you give me specific examples where Flock was instrumental in your investigations? And that's what this is.
Oh, did you share that with us at all?
I did not, because this is full of CJIS, Criminal Justice Information Systems information. That's why I did not. If I can, I'll give you, because I know there's privacy concerns, and believe me, I actually share your privacy concerns. So let's stick with the downtown homicide as an example. I told you that the original video feed from Station 1, Fire Station 1, got us the image of the car, but not the license plate. The downtown cameras gave you the direction of the car. So that pointed detectives like Detective Tennant to look for specific cameras to see if point in time that image was captured. Flock gave them 8 Audis operating in a 90-minute time period. I had no idea that late at night 8 Audis would be operating on our city, but it was. The very first vehicle that they believed was the likely vehicle, they ran the registration. They realized it is in fact in San Marcos. It hit nearby on a camera, so they obtained a search warrant. To your all's point, Flock is not the end all. And Chief Anderson has done a really good job of talking about there's still a ton of investigation that has to go in conjunction with. So when they actually found said vehicle pursuant to the search warrant, they approached the vehicle, and Detective Tennant and others realized right then and there, this is not the correct vehicle. Investigation continues. They had already been running the traps. I told you about the analyst that was back at the PD already doing the traps. They had already been running the trap, and so it's just a matter of minutes before we found the correct vehicle. So I only share that story really for the benefit of our community and our council. Flock is a very instrumental tool, but to Chief Anderson's point, there still is a ton of investigation that has to go into each of these crimes. The Napa is a perfect example of an ROI, a return on investment. I have a ton of others. But right now, you have a hard policy decision, and I'm really here just to try to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, I do want to take the time though to ask a follow-up question, just because, you know, you responded directly to something I said. So, you know, same here. I guess let me ask you, Chief, how do you define ROI? What's a return on investment for you?
A return on, so if I look at professional policing, I'm very, very mindful of a couple of tenets, a couple of central facts. We can never arrest our way out of this predicament. We're dealing with human behaviors and have been since the inception. Arrest will never get us out of this predicament. Simultaneous, we've got to be very, very mindful of the actual victimization that is occurring. And so when I consider the options that this governing body has, in my opinion, it's not an either or. It's not arguing that, well, in the future, I'm looking at the current reality. We have, by the way, we have an increase of violent crime just this year. We've been going down. Our increase year to date, we've seen a 13% increase just this year. Violent crime is going back up. We've already had 350 violent incidents. So it's not an either or. It's a and. To me, that's the correct preposition that's going to bridge these two. I totally agree with you. The return on investment, we've got to look at the socioeconomic determinants that actually cause crime while simultaneously being responsive to the ongoing victimization. It's an and.
And let me ask you, because this might be going off, but when you acknowledge that the larger return may be on addressing the root causes, right? Am I missing something as where we as a city have made that a primary focus? Because in this year or so, we have maybe spent this little of time talking about that. And so when you say it's not an either or, one of the things that has been asserted, which is the whole reason why we're talking about a gap, is that we either have these cameras or people won't be safe. That isn't either or. That is an ultimatum almost given to us by council. So when we talk about return on investment, I guess the reason I ask is because wouldn't a return, by us being able as a governing body to address those things, wouldn't a return be that y'all's job isn't so laborious, so busy, and people would have what they need?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when
And-
I use the return on investment, I didn't take the time to define it. So when the response was given about what you believe is a return, I never took the time to actually tell you what mine was. That's where I'm coming from. I don't want y'all working as much as the next person. Because if y'all aren't needed, that means everybody's got what they need.
Agreed.
But that isn't the conversation we have, Chief. And that is what I'm trying to urge this council, what I've been trying to urge this council for over a year now, that I constantly get chastised for, is focusing on those real things that make all of y'all have less work, so you're not stressed, so you're with your families. But we don't give it energy like that. So I'm just gonna continue to use this opportunity to reinforce that with y'all, that I would love to address the things like mental health, like that you have prioritized. I would love to do those things, but our time is never there. The money's never there. So return for me is always subjective. So.
Thank you.
Actually, we've made some strides in that over the last
Mayor, I think it's
5
important always
years.
as a city, though, to always acknowledge the fact that whatever strides that we have made are still insufficient when it comes to the need. And I know you, out of everybody on this body, actually takes the time to go meet with the community and talk with them. I know that for a fact. And I know that when you do those things, because oftentimes we kind of intersect at being at these things.
We're at the same
The
place.
things that people are asking for on a routine basis is not cameras. What do they ask for? Housing, infrastructure, those basic needs. So when we talk about we are
Yes.
taking strides, yes, I hear you, Mayor, and I appreciate it. But at the same time, when you look at our budget, the disparity is there.
Here's the deal, not arguing with you, but this $43,000 isn't going to make the police not needed. So, and I think it's also, I'm not even sure what the word is, it's not good to ignore and to not acknowledge the successes and the strides that we have made regarding mental health, what we've done in the last 5 to 7 years is significant. Is there more to do? Absolutely, there's way more to do. But I really think it's not nice to just discount how far we have come.
And Mayor, if my comments were taken as not acknowledging, then that's not where I was going.
Good.
Since I've been on council, I have been, and you and I have talked about this at great length, I have been exposed to so many things that I was never aware that this city has done. So much so that I go and share that with other people.
Good.
But at the end of the day, similar to the way I asked my boss, who was a legislator making state policy, to always understand that whatever strides you take the time to celebrate it. It's great. But always understand there's more work.
Sure.
And that is what I'm doing. I'm
And
acknowledging that there's more
nobody's going to
work.
say that there's not more
Yeah.
that can be done, should be done. But
Right.
often, what we have done has been ignored and discounted. And that's the way I felt you were going tonight. And so I just wanted to make sure that the public knew that we have done a lot. I won't go into all of that now.
Right.
But, the thing is, we went from very little to a lot in a fairly short period
right.
of time.
Yeah, and.
Yeah, and I don't dispute that. I was
Yeah.
not disputing
Good.
that in my
Thank you.
claims.
Yeah.
It's just urging people that there's more to do.
Right,
especially
for
right now.
sure.
And no argument
Yeah,
there.
I think I'm getting deja vu because I think in 2020, I shared very similar sentiments on the dais, and I still fully agree with what you're saying. But since I've been in office, I do feel like we have made a lot of strides. But I do think that all of that has led to this conversation with even our chief, who acknowledges that, we have to take a more holistic approach when it comes to assessing crime, addressing it, preventing it. So I think that is a big stride. But I do think, given the budget discrepancies and all that, it's important to continue to highlight that conversation. I do have just a reply to you real quick. I appreciate the examples and that you took the time to ask that question. Similar conversation during the county and the sheriff's community forum, where they had different examples. And I'm not trying to be dismissive of the how beneficial it has been in those examples, but like these isolated examples are not the same as measurable impact. National research on ALPR system shows no overall reduction in crime, and departments across the country report the same thing. A few helpful examples, incidents, but no empirical citywide effect. But I also do want to name that the reason we're stuck with just examples instead of data is because Flock refuses to build the basic features that would allow us to measure the outcomes. That was a frustration that was expressed during the county's community discussion, and I really felt sympathy for their data analysts and their law enforcement, because you can tell it's not for not wanting. Like they want to be able to highlight those things. Again, like I think that's a huge problem. It's not y'all, it's not the officers, it's the vendor. And without those tracking tools, I don't think anybody in this room can independently verify the impact. And so I say that to lead to my next point, which is I cannot support a temporary renewal or month-to-month situation. Every city that has successfully moved away from Flock did so by not renewing. So a pause is what actually creates the pressure to find better options. And it's also been found to invite competitive proposals and give governmental entities the leverage to demand higher quality, more accountable vendors. And me personally, I just can't justify extending the system that cannot demonstrate effectiveness, particularly because the vendor refuses to build the basic tools needed to measure it. I just don't think that it's worth continuing to engage with a system that makes me very uncomfortable. Again, no fault of our police department. insert here every other point that we've made on our uneasiness with dealing with Flock.
And you just rolled into a question that I was going to ask. Because, we hear, oh, there's no proof that, flock cameras help solve crimes, et cetera. And I would not put that information in flock, because I just wouldn't. However, my question to you, because I've asked questions about our database and what we key in and all that other stuff. Is there a field, and I'm guessing there isn't now, but I hope that there will be, that when you're doing a report, did you use cameras? And maybe what kind of cameras? And I'm going to say a camera network versus our internal cameras, so that at some point, if somebody runs a report, and not your reports, but database report out of there, that you could see that how many times a camera did help lead to a successful resolution of a case. And I'm not talking about all the way to conviction, but just, we feel like we found the right person. I realize in some cases it might end up not being correct. But that's where I would want that data to be, is in our system with our stuff, not in the Flock system, because who's going to go back out to Flock? Plus, if the data's only there for 30 days, how do you even get there? But anyway, that's a question that I have.
I love the question. I wrote it down, Mayor. I think it's very insightful, and I will definitely ask. And I love that question as it correlates to Councilwoman Rodriguez's point. Your definition of ROI, you all have talked a lot about there's no direct correlation between flock and safety. I haven't argued the opposite. I haven't stood here and said that there is. I love your definition of ROI, because I absolutely do believe that license plate readers have reduced staff time. The Napa investigation is the clearest example. I give you one example. Your definition of ROI, he's standing in the room. He's already cleared the case. If we didn't have LPRs, we'd still be looking for a black Toyota Tundra for days or weeks, and it may go unsolved.
Don't cut your, y'all would have found it, I believe in you.
You're right, he probably would have, he's a good detective.
But it would have taken longer.
But I think there's a correlation to Councilwoman Rodriguez's point that it does save staff time. So I think I think it's definitely worth vetting. Can we start to track it internally?
And do we have an answer, Chief, to the question about the 5 cameras and whether they were live?
I have a lot of different answers, and I'm not confident in anything. I'm not sure I fully understand it, so I think we need to sit down with Veronica and fully understand it, which probably won't be tonight. So we can definitely get that to you all.
I'm sorry, did you just ask for the lineup, what it's going to take to?
Did I what?
Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, yes. We need to know about
She
that.
was asking the follow-up to that, and
Okay.
he said he doesn't have any clear.
Sorry, I missed part of that.
No, you're good.
But I had a similar question, and that is, things kind of kept changing about how long this is going to take. Could somebody send us something tomorrow with just a reasonable estimate of how long each stage would take? Just basically start over.
Yes, I think it's going to depend, and we can definitely send something to mayor and council, capturing what we've kind of discussed. First, we need to determine whether the LPR solutions that are being utilized by other outlets, parks,
Yes.
and paid parking downtown.
Yes.
If that's a viable option. If that's a viable option, then if mayor and council still want to pursue LPRs through a different avenue, then that could be a shorter timeline. If it is a solicitation that we have to go out for,
That's the long
that's
route.
going to be probably safely 6 months to a year.
That's what I'm
Because
thinking.
6 months for the solicitation, negotiation, testing, permitting, that's gonna be a year.
Yeah.
So I
But
think,
things take as long as they take. I mean, a negotiation can take a day, or it can take 2 months. And it just depends on what you put first and who's doing what, and do you get on the phone and work some stuff out as opposed to emailing back and forth 500 times. So, I mean, things can take a short time, or they can take a long time. It depends on how it gets prioritized. Okay.
so we can definitely get that information to mayor and council. We will also get you definitive information about the 5 cameras, and I apologize that we don't have that tonight. Because I too would like to know that answer.
Yeah, I think we all would. Okay, so Are there any further questions, comments? If not,
I guess where are we landing? Like what?
I need to go around the table and find out where we're landing. So as soon as they're through over there. So, Ms. Reyes, what my intent is to ask each of us if we want to renew. I guess it's two questions, but maybe it doesn't matter. Because I'm for renewing, but only for a year and not after that. So I think I'm going to put a renew limited and a renew forever. I don't think anybody's going to vote that way, but not indicate a preference on that, but I'm going to give them an option. So let's see where we are on that. And y'all know where I am, is the renew for the 1 year, and rather than force a response, I'm just going to say who wants to go next. I'll need you to say that in the microphone, please, sir.
Yes, I'll go next. I'll renew for 1 year.
Okay.
I'll renew for a year as well.
Well, maximum of a year.
No.
And you're a no, and
Maximum
that's
of a
okay.
year? Like, so then there would be terms there to pull out before a year?
If we end up with another solution, let's say in 9 months, then I would be ready to go in 9 months. I'm not saying we have to stay the year, but I think we're probably going to have to renew for a year to get half a year. So basically, it's renew or not.
But
So
I
you're
guess,
in-
did you
no.
ever get an answer, though, to the question you posed earlier on not wanting to spend money that we don't need to spend, in the sense of, let's say in your hypothetical of 9 months,
Yeah.
we get to that point, where's
I'd
the
like
agreement
to
that we would get money
ask
back?
for the 3 months back. I don't know that we'll get there, Mr. Aguirre. Yes,
You
sir.
know, we don't know what they'll agree to, but I think what we could try to negotiate for is some sort of option to terminate with 30 days' notice type of situation. So I think we can strive for that. I just don't know that we can guarantee we can get that. But that would be one way to
Right.
get
But we're
to
going to
where
have
they'll-
to pay this up front, most likely, and we would be asking for a refund, correct? If we hope to see any of that money back?
Yeah, we'd have to do it on sort of either a monthly type of deal where it's prorated, or, yes.
I'm
we-
willing
we'd
to leave it up
negotiate
to
for that.
y'all that we don't spend money that we don't need. However that ends up working,
Right.
If we
I'm
could
okay
do
with
it as a
whatever.
month to month
Yeah.
for no more than 1 year.
Yeah, something like that.
And
It
then with a
just-
30-day notice, then it sounds like that would probably get us to the interest that I'm hearing.
Yes.
It's just, we don't know what the company,
Even
but that's what we'll
those
pitch.
of us who are
Yes,
willing
ma'am.
to renew don't want to renew, safer to say, a minute longer than we need to? Yeah, so that's where we are. So I guess I should have just said renew, start with what I had, renew limited.
Okay.
But I have you down as a no.
I will go next. There's some chatter out there that I'm anti-law enforcement. And I just want to clear this up. I have voted for everything they asked for in the past. I might question things, but I've given you everything that y'all needed. And as for the renewal, by the way, let me finish up that my son is a police officer, and I understand what y'all go through. Trust me. I always want to see him come home every night, and it's just something that a parent goes through. With that being said, I'm not willing to renew this. The reason is because there's some lawsuits, if I understood correctly, against this company. And that could be more costly than anything else if someone sues us for whatever the reason. That's my stand, Mayor. Thank you.
So you are a no, you don't want to renew for even a day?
Right.
Okay, so I've got you down as a no. Ms. Garza, you are the last one left.
I'm a no as well.
Mr. Gary, where are we now?
Wait,
Well, I
what
want to
was
make
the
sure,
law?
do we have
We have
four?
three,
No.
no,
It's-
we
right.
have three who are for the, I'm going to say limited
Right.
renewal, and we have 3 who would like to
So,
not renew at all. Is that fair to say? Okay.
for any council actions, it requires 4 votes, or four, whether it's votes or direction.
I
It's so-
understand that, but what
What
is
it
the
means is that the status
status
quo remains, that the contract would not be renewed by the city manager, is what it means, unless that's the status quo, because right now, a notice to discontinue the contract has been sent, is my understanding. And it also puts city manager in a precarious position it puts her in a precarious position in 2 ways. If she doesn't renew, well, who is she? The idea of a majority of the council giving direction is she understands. So if she doesn't renew, it's a problem. If she renews, it's a problem. But I think the status quo right now is it's a non-renewal based on the notice we've sent. It would be, let's put it this way, I suppose she could move forward, but it would be at her peril. And I think there is an issue too about the $100,000. So I think the status quo really is going to be.
Wait, $100,000 what?
Well, if we were to renew it, we don't want to exceed the $100,000 without the council direction, so.
Without council approval.
Yeah,
We
so.
need council approval on a
So actually, that kind of solves the problem, I think, without any direction.
So basically, we're
It
in
would
a
be
no.
non-renewed.
There was not a majority of the council to renew, and we're at the end of our contract.
That's correct. We've sent a notice to non-renew.
Well, let's set that aside, because for me, that doesn't matter right this minute, we're at the end of our contract, and we do not have 4 votes or more to say to renew.
That's
Therefore,
correct.
we're at not renewal.
That's
We're
correct.
just lucky somebody thought ahead and sent that notice.
So we're, yeah.
Okay, so we're a no.
But we still have the cameras downtown that are ours that do work, correct?
Just
Regardless.
downtown, yes.
Right,
That is
okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're at a no, which means that y'all are now are y'all good if they start looking for some kind of camera solution that's got way more, I'm gonna say way more guardrails maybe
Yeah.
than,
Of course.
are we good with that? To start looking for some other solution?
So.
Okay.
And what I really want us to look at is the LPR systems that we have and see what that looks like, and we can advise mayor and council. The parks and the parking and all that, the current systems that we use with other departments.
Mayor,
And we can see and advise mayor and council if we need to enter in. If it is something that's under 100,000, just because of the conversation that's been had, I don't know that I'm comfortable just.
Oh, it needs to come back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you agree, because that's exactly how I feel about it. This is a big enough issue that even if it is under my spending authority, I want to make sure that I'm bringing this forward and get council approval on whatever mechanism we're using.
think that's
Let me make sure I'm clear with the folks down here that y'all are good at looking at some kind of cameras. Okay, I hear a yes from Mr. Gonzalez.
Are you asking me now?
Yeah.
I'm willing to, entertain looking at,
Let them start looking at whatever we might
as
have.
long as it's not a company from the upside down, yeah.
I'm with you on that, okay. Okay.
And Mayor, real
I just
quick.
want to make sure that was clear for y'all, that y'all know we're open to something, not just, yeah.
I promise this is a quick question. I can't remember if it was you or Mr. Mendoza. Did y'all mention that when it comes to those cameras that we just approved, was that a recent decision? I'm trying to go back so I can look into that company already.
Are you
Did
talking
y'all
about the
mention
downtown
that?
ones?
No, the park and the parking ones. Did y'all mention that y'all just picked a new company?
That was the,
Right? Didn't we just, maybe a couple months back, approve?
yeah, it was in, what,
Okay,
February
I'm just trying
or
to figure out so
something?
when I go back
For,
to.
for the
to look.
ones, and it was in the spring that we did the ones for the parking enforcement.
Okay,
Council, I believe that was in May of this year.
thank you, boss. I just wanted to kind of get a time frame.
But
to go
also, I
back
do want to say, besides just looking at the opportunities to look at what the marshal's office has and what Parks office has, I think also it'd be very beneficial to look at Exxon as well too, even though they may not necessarily be at the point to roll out that specific platform, but we do already have an existing partnership with Exxon as well too.
So we'll
okay
explore
then.
options. We'll explore those options first, because that gets us
Yep.
something quicker coming to mayor and council. And then if not, then we'll look at the solicitation option. But whatever we do, we're going to keep council informed about what we're doing. We'll send y'all that information as well as about the 5. And then we will also bring back any agreement, proposed agreement that is for this type of technology, so that you have that.
And it will be sent to us early.
Yes,
As soon
ma'am.
as y'all are comfortable with this
Yes,
is what's
ma'am.
going in the packet, you're gonna let us have that, so we can look through that with more than a few days.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Yes.
Although I realize that might be 4 days.
When it's
Depending
our
on-
agenda item, we will definitely make sure that that's done.
When time, okay.
Yes.
Have we closed this one out? I think it's time for a break. I just want to make sure we have closed this one out. Anybody have any questions left? Y'all have any questions of us? No?
No.
Okay,
Thank you
then-
all for all the hard work.
We are going to take a break. It is now 9:23. Let's be back at 9:30. And we have just a few items left. May not be too long. Are back from our recess at 9:34. Ms. Trevino, I think we're on item 13, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Consider approval of ordinance 2025-51 on the first of 2 readings, amending section 2.333 of the San Marcos City Code regarding duties of the Human Services Advisory Board to change reporting requirements for outside agencies from quarterly to annual, and remove the requirement for the board's monitoring of payments to outside agencies to be quarterly, including procedural provisions, and declare an effective date.
To approve.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Scott. We have a second from Ms. Rodriguez, but let's see what Ms. Griffith has to tell us first, if she has something she wants to tell us.
Oh, I wanted you to know I'm here to answer questions. so.
Okay.
Yep.
And I had put a couple of things on the message board that, this is 13. And one of them is, it's something that was removed and replaced. And it was does the agency have an office in San Marcos? 2, in what ways does your agency actively conduct outreach to engage San Marcos residents in its programs and services? And I'm not opposed to the new thing, but I still would like to know, and not just reading the address that's on the application, do you have an office in San Marcos? This may surprise y'all, but sometimes if I'm trying to find somebody, they're not answering the phone, they're not responding to email, I'm gonna go show up at their door. And I'm gonna wanna know, do you have an office in San Marcos? I know we've got one group that, I think their home office is in Fredericksburg or Kerrville, but they've got a site here. You know, do you have something here, a place that people can go and talk to somebody? That's what I'm looking for, is to see, do you have that? And I guess we ought to ask the address. But I am okay. Is that the one? No. I think we could merge those two, because I think the suggested change was really good. But I still want to know, you know, do you have a place that people can go to in San Marcos to not necessarily receive the full services, but at least talk to somebody about an application or something?
And-
So, Mr. Gary, do I need to make a formal amendment?
Yes, if it's not under, as presented, originally, yes.
Okay, then I will make a motion to add, it's basically, well, I'm just gonna say, to keep the suggestion of in what ways does your agency actively conduct outreach to engage San Marcos residents in its programs and services? And then also just say, does the agency have an office in San Marcos, but combine those still for the same 10 points?
Can you repeat that? You want to?
Include, go ahead and change it to what we said we were gonna change it to. In what ways do your agency actively conduct outreach to engage San Marcos residents in its programs and services? but also as the second sentence, but it's the same item, it's the same 10 points. Does the agency have an office in San Marcos? And give us the address.
Oh, gotcha.
Mayor.
I don't agree with that.
Question. The item's open, right? You got your second?
Yeah, Shane.
Shane
Okay,
seconded.
okay, just want to make sure before I ask questions. So I went back and actually painfully watched this discussion, and we actually spent quite a long time at this, and I'm glad I did, because it was in that rewatch that I actually realized that one of the organizations I know you care deeply about was actually one of the organizations that was a topic of discussion, and that was lifelong learning. They don't have an office similar to other agencies. I know you are a big supporter of them. And so I'm okay in theory of us asking for the sake of knowing, but tying a
Just for
point.
knowing.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I wasn't, that's why I was waiting for the item to be open, because I wasn't clear, because I read your thing on the message board, and it has a question adjacent to the point system. So in this motion, did you specify on points still being associated with that? Did I miss?
It's
Oh,
gonna
'cause
be
that's
two
how I read.
sentences together, one set of points.
And the two
But
sentences?
this one is for information, the first part that we agreed to change it to, that's what the points would be, but this is just another question.
It's on the
Because I'm
application
gonna
form,
wanna
council
know.
priorities.
I know it's on, I know there's an address on the application, but that's the home office that often
ordinance is
puts an address
next.
there, and that's not in San Marcos.
Yeah, that's
For
that,
few
does
people.
the agency have an office in San Marcos is what you're talking about?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so your change is just asking in office in general, or help me understand?
Well,
Sorry.
for example, lifelong learning, all the board members live here.
Mm-hmm.
You can find somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and you can find the coordinator.
So you're just saying putting the question on the application for the sake of knowing, not tying it to a point system?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, because to your point, I mean, some people do like want to pull up, let's say they're offering some sort of resources that they can get. I'm fine with that.
Actually, what we could do is where on the application, I think it's on page 244, on the application where we asked them for the office of,
You said 240?
how it was before they added some stuff. Where we asked them for their office, which is a lot of times the home office or the corporate office, just underneath there, do you have a location in San Marcos? Give us the address. I think that might be a better place for it, then we don't confuse the points on this one.
Okay,
Does that work for everybody?
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're all,
Yes.
okay, so I'm gonna change my motion. Two, on the application, where it asks for the address, which is often the corporate address, which may or may not be in San Marcos, underneath that, say, do you have a location in San Marcos? And what is the address? There's no points involved, we're just asking a question, so that's what my motion is. And Mr. Scott still seconds that.
Did we have to withdraw the first one? Since it was
I'm
live?
restating it.
Okay.
I support that, yeah.
I didn't know if
I
Sam
think,
had-
I think we're good, I think we're ready to vote.
Okay, yeah, I just to make clear, you know, the ultimate action taken tonight is the amendment to the ordinance. So these are sort of, I'm viewing these as conditions to your amendment to the
Okay.
ordinance. The
Oh, yes.
conditions that
Just wanted to
these
make sure.
forms be, you know, modified.
Right. Yeah, because we're talking about the application.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ms. Trevino, let's vote on this one.
Mr. Mendoza, Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez, Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ms. Garza.
Absolutely. This makes me so happy.
Mayor Houston.
Yes.
And Mr. Scott.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0 with 2 absent.
Okay, and the second one is pretty much the same thing, is I'm okay with what we said we would, why we did it, and it's question 3. It was describe how this funding will create an increase in services or an increase in the number of people served. It had 10 points if it creates an increase, and we all agreed we don't need to do that. So I'm okay with, I still want to know this, and I think in your response, Ms. Griffith, it said there's a question else, somewhere else we get this information, is that correct?
Oh, so
Oh, it's in the annual report.
it's in the annual report, we're adding a question asking how many people were served last year and how many people were served this year
Right.
to
but
compare.
This was, we were asking up front because at one time it was important to know, is this going to actually change your level of service, that we give you the number? I guess I can live with it being on the report, because it's something I want to know, but it's not necessarily something that's a make or break.
I feel like
On
that's
it.
what the board was saying when they were
Right.
talking about it, yeah.
Okay, so, I'm okay with that, and then, so we've done the amendment, and then I think we're good with, my concern that the HSAB start working through the applications without a known amount, but since it goes in the budget policy statement, so we are actually discussing it at budget policy time. I just forgot it was in the statement.
Right, so that was a clarification to the questions that were asked on the board.
Right.
On the, message board.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, Mr. Locke said that, at the time the council is setting policy, you can go ahead and set the amount, and then you could change it if you need to.
So we're already
later.
doing what I said, gee, couldn't we do it
You
this way?
really are, yeah.
Okay,
actually.
then I'm good with that. So that's the only change I've got.
Mayor, real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I went through it because that was a good question that I was asking. Mr. Locke or Ms. Griffith, remind me when we set that budget policy statement. What month?
It's the end of February.
The end of February?
March.
March? Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Locke
Just
is
wanted
saying
to
March.
make sure. Thank you.
The budget policy, our workshop has to be in February. And then we approve the statement later, but we're gonna make that determination in February.
Okay. Cool.
We do vision in January, budget policy in
I remember
February,
that.
and
I
then
just
they.
couldn't remember when we voted on that
That's
policy
February.
statement.
Okay, anything else by anybody else?
No, thank y'all for bringing the stuff from the board to us and making this happen.
No, this is good.
I'm sorry, are you also gonna vote on the ordinance change?
Yes, we need to vote on the whole thing.
Okay.
That, I'm just making
You're
sure
just
we're ready to vote on the whole thing.
Done with this part,
And
got it.
checking to make sure there's no other, I think we're ready to go, Mr. Trevino,
Okay.
on the motion, main motion as amended, which are the recommendations that came from the HSAB.
Okay, alrighty. So let's go with, Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez, Ms. Rodriguez,
Oh, yes, yes, aye, sorry.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez,
Aye.
Ms. Garza,
Aye.
Mayor Houston,
Forgot that was my last
Mr.
name.
Scott,
Aye.
and Mr. Mendoza. The motion passes 5-0, the two absent.
Item 14.
Okay, consider approval of ordinance 2025-52 on the first of two readings, amending the city's 2025-2026 fiscal year budget to carry forward funds from the 2024-2025 fiscal year to adjust revenue and expenditure accounts in multiple operating, special revenue, and internal service funds, including procedural provisions, and declare an effective date.
Approve.
Motion for Mr. Scott, seconded by Ms. Rodriguez. Questions, concerns? This is something we do every year. The numbers are just different. We're ready to vote.
All right, Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ms. Garza.
Aye.
Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza. Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez. The motion passes 5-0 with two absent.
On to number 15.
Consider approval of ordinance 2025-53, increasing the speed limit from 60 miles per hour to 65 miles per hour on northbound and southbound FM 110 from approximately south of Yarrington Road to north of State Highway 80, authorizing installation of signs and traffic control devices reflecting the new speed limits, directing that traffic register maintained under section 82.067 of the San Marcos City Code to be amended to reflect the new speed limits and penalties to be applied, including procedural provisions, and declare an effective date, and consider approval of ordinance 2025-53 on the first of two readings.
Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Scott, seconded by Mr. Saul Gonzalez. Any questions, concerns? We'll vote.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez,
Aye.
Ms. Garza,
Aye.
Mayor Houston,
Aye.
Mr. Scott,
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza, Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez, and Ms. Rodriguez.
Begrudgingly, aye.
Motion passes 5-0 with two absent.
And moving on to item 16.
Consider approval of resolution 2025-235R, accepting a petition to amend the boundaries and increase the estimated cost of the public improvements for the River Bridge Ranch Public Improvement District, calling a public hearing on the proposed amendments to be held January 20, 2026, and declare an effective date.
Mr. Scott has a motion to approve on this one, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Saul Gonzalez. presentation or here for questions?
I can provide some background information, or I can be here for questions, whatever council prefers.
Background information.
Okay. In 2020, City Council approved a settlement agreement between the Mayan at San Marcos River, City of Martindale, and the City of San Marcos. Part of that settlement agreement required the creation of the River Bridge Ranch Public Improvement District, or PID. The PID that was created had authorized public improvements of $10 million. At that time, that only included wastewater and buffer improvements. In December of 2021, Lennar Homes of Texas purchased the land from the Mayan at San Marcos River. Lennar has a planned 1,351 single-family lot development with 35, 45, and 60-foot lots, with estimated starting sales prices of $260,000 to $390,000, with the average being around $325,000. At full build-out, it's estimated to have an assessed value of $437 million, and we're estimating that would be around $2.5 million of property tax revenue for the city. Lennar Homes has submitted a petition requesting a boundary adjustment and to increase the authorized public improvements. The boundary adjustment reduces the PID area from approximately 563 acres to 328 acres to remove land that was retained by the original owner, as well as land north of FM 110. The petition requests to increase the authorized public improvements to $60 million. This is to mostly expand the scope. Instead of just wastewater and buffer, it includes streets, drainage, water, and wastewater. In total, the total estimated costs are $53 million, and the assessments that would be paid by the property owners that reside within the PID are estimated to cover $40 million of that, and then NAR would cover the remaining $13 million of that. In November of '24, City Council appointed a committee to review the petition. That committee was Mayor Houston and council members Matthew Mendoza and Saul Gonzalez. As part of the review process, the committee and Lennar Homes agreed to additional community benefits. Those benefits included the dedication of a 2-acre parcel of land for a future fire station, as well as cost participation in that fire station, voluntary compliance with certain sections of the revised development code. Part of the settlement agreement requires the city to consider development permits within the PID on the basis of regulations that were in place in 2007. And Lennar has agreed to voluntarily comply with certain sections of the revised development code. It also, another community benefit is to install a transit stop shelter near the intersection of Staples Road and FM 110, and to construct a 2,000 square foot enclosed amenity center that will be available to the public through an agreement between the Homeowners Association and the city. That amenity center will also have larger trees required at the entryways. Any PID bonds that would be issued for these public improvements will be repaid solely through the assessments on the property owners within the PID. The property owners outside the PID and the city bear no financial obligation for the repayment of the bonds. This resolution being considered today does not approve the requested change in boundaries or the increase in authorized public improvements. The resolution only accepts the amended petition, and it schedules a public hearing for January 20th of 2026. Following that public hearing, City Council will have a 6-month window to consider the PID amendments. I also wanted to mention to the council that we have members of the Lennar Homes and the Lennar Home Development Team, Bond Council, and our PID administrator here this evening to help with any questions that you may have.
All righty. We have a motion and a second. We have a really good summary of what changes that we had asked for and were agreed to. So, any comments, concerns? We're ready to vote?
Just please build the houses with such quality, please. one of the things, just so you'll know, that we recently had somebody from a separate subdivision complain about foundational issues and those things. And so I know I read plenty of things online and don't want to take everything as if that's the way y'all do business. And so just really making sure that when we build these homes, they're quality. So that's it.
And
But
will
thank you
last.
for all, well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But thank you, Mr. Locke, always for giving us the information that we need. It's appreciated.
Well done. We'll vote.
Ms. Garza. Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza, Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez, Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez. The motion passes 5-0 with 2 absent.
All right, on to item 17.
Discuss and consider appointments to fill vacancies on the following boards and commissions and provide direction to staff. A, Arts Commission. B, Convention and Visitors Bureau Board. C, Human Services Advisory Board.
Okay, council, we will do the arts first, and this person could live in or outside the city limits. We have 4 applications waiting on a name. I mean, they all sound like, would be good commissioners.
I feel like we've seen the Aslan Hollier application once before. Do they serve on another board?
They may have applied for another board.
Probably.
Interested in neighborhood and parks and rec and housing.
Yeah, this one was turned in after we made our appointments this past year. But we may have seen it for a different board or commission.
Let me ask, because I really appreciated the detail in their application. But, let me see. I couldn't remember if this is the one where this was one of their first. Yeah, it wasn't one that they had acknowledged. If you selected more than one, please rank it in order of interest. It didn't mention arts. So,
Mr. Video, could they go back and amend their application?
Yes.
Okay,
And
so
he-
even though it didn't have arts when she originally turned it in, it's in here
They-
because
yeah.
they came back and said,
Right.
I'm
Okay.
interested in
And
that
Asian
too.
doesn't serve on any other boards.
No? Okay, I mean, I was gonna nominate them, so. It was just that one little thing that I was asking about, but.
Fine. Yeah, I mean, they all look good to me,
Yeah.
so. Okay, so you're putting the name of
I think it was like Aslan.
Aslan
Sorry, I said A.
Collier?
Oh, I
or
don't.
Collier, I'm not sure.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Hollier.
Any other names? If not, this will be a yes or no, because we've only got one.
Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza, Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez, Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez. And Ms. Garza.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0 with 2 absent.
Okay, and now this is for the Convention and Visitors Bureau. This is required to be a member, owner, general manager, or senior management of food beverage establishments in the city, and we have 1 application that does qualify for that slot.
Yeah, I'll nominate Corley. Mayor, help me on the last name.
I do not know.
Letoile? Probably.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Corley?
I want to get it right, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have the same ADHD? Sorry. I just know that one of the things that we did for citizens' comment was kind of getting somebody to spell out the pronunciation.
We could add it.
Okay.
We'll play
And
Yeah, the
perhaps
option is
something
there,
on
not
something.
everybody uses it, but yes.
Oh, it is there? It is.
No, for the citizen comment, but not very many people
Oh, I
use
see what
it.
you mean. Yeah, that's probably, I don't know, Sam,
But
cut
this
me
would be
off,
good
but
here.
yeah, it would be much.
We do have it for the citizen comment.
I don't know if that's germane,
Yeah,
Sam.
she's asking if we can have it for the applications for boards and
Yeah,
commissions.
and
Is that
maybe
an
perhaps
option?
a pronoun option as well. You know, when we're referring to these people, making sure that we're getting it right.
We address them correctly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why I usually just say first and last name.
Yeah, but,
Okay, so we have one for one, the name's been properly put forward to us. We're ready to vote. Ms. Trevino?
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza. Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez. Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ms. Garza.
Aye.
Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0 with 2 absent.
And now, this is the Human Services Advisory Board. It says the requirement for a degree in social work or experience in social work administration. And we have one who does qualify, which is why they're on their list in front of us. And I will put the name
Yeah.
of Kimberly Chavez
they're
in play.
956.
I'm taking the easy one to say.
Yeah.
She's a plant, you guys. She's from my hometown. I handpicked her. I've never met her
956.
in my entire life, but she's from my hometown. Shout out.
Ms. Trevino, is this the non-voting social worker
Yes.
position?
Or with experience in social
Okay.
work. Mhm.
But it's the non-voting?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. We're ready to vote.
Okay, Mr. Mendoza, Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez, Ms. Rodriguez. Mr. Saul Gonzalez. Ms. Garza.
Aye.
Mayor Houston.
Aye.
And Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0 with 2 absent.
Okay, next one that's gonna be a tiny bit more complex, I think, number 18.
Okay. Discuss and consider appointments to the Impact Fee Advisory Committee and provide direction to staff.
Can someone tell us a little bit about this new committee? Mr. Condor, enlighten us, sir.
Good evening, Sean Condor, Director of Engineering and Capital Improvements. So in years past, we had used the Planning and the Zoning Commission as our impact fee study, and we had an ad hoc position. Earlier this summer, you saw we put something forward, and Phil Steed was nominated for that role. Well, since this legislation went through, they changed the rules where we can no longer use P&Z as the committee. So we have to basically set a whole new committee and go through a whole new process, and that's what we're doing today is we're setting up this committee, and we're gonna work with legal to run it. It's gonna basically meet 2 times. We're gonna give them an overview of the impact fee, and then we're gonna give them the impact fee presentation to get a recommendation. Then we're gonna take that recommendation from them and present it to council.
Okay. And it is 5 members and 4 are in the city, and at least half of those representing real estate, development, or building industries. I'm lost. Ms. Trevino, I need some help with what I've got on my worksheet here. So do we have to have 4 in the development industry, or is it 2?
You need at least 50% in the committee, so depending on the final number, if we went 6, it'd be 3.
Okay, I've got
so-
that there's 5.
Oh, perfect, Richard can save the day.
I have Richard Reynoso online.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna call in my call for help, so Richard Reynoso, the Assistant
Phone
Director.
a friend?
Phone a friend.
Phone a
Okay.
friend, yes.
Whoever can help us, we will certainly, we'd love to hear from them.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, we're looking for 5 appointments with 3 meeting those criteria, and 1 from the ETJ, who, we only have 1 applicant, and he meets that criteria, so then the other 4, 2 of those have to be of that background, as you mentioned.
Okay, so there's 1 from the ETJ, 4 in the city, and at least 3 of them have to be in the industry, correct?
Total, so the ETJ counts as 1, and then 2 in the city need to be, 2 of the 4 within the city limits need to be of that background.
Does the ETJ person have to have the background?
Nobody does, so that benefits us in that way.
Now, I get that, and I'm gonna nominate him, but I'm just trying to get the requirements, so.
Mayor, what you said at the beginning was accurate.
Okay, what I'm going to do to maybe make this simpler is I'm gonna split it up. We have have to have 1 person from the ETJ. We have 1 applicant whom I feel is very, very qualified. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the name of Phil Steed in play for the ETJ person. Let's resolve that one, and then we'll go back to the other 4, if that's, is that okay with y'all?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just
Okay.
trying to understand, like, for the 5, meeting the 50%, did we not want to pick a even number to make the 50% a little?
It's a minimum of 50%, so.
Oh, minimum,
And
okay.
a minimum of 5 members. So if you have a 5-member impact fee committee, at
Only
least
three.
3 need to be of the industry.
Yeah, yeah.
What I was trying to figure out is, does the ETJ person, where do they fall into that? Do they have to be one of them? But since we've got
No.
one for one, and they do, then that meets that, they could all be in the industry if we wanted, though. So that's just up to us. So my motion is to appoint Phil Steed to the ETJ position, and he does qualify as someone in the industry. So let's vote on that one first.
Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez, Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez. Ms. Garza. Mayor Houston.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza. The motion passes 5-0 with 2 absent.
Okay, so
I have
now
somebody.
we need 4 more, and 2 have to be, I'm just gonna say, in the real estate development or building industries.
But we're also just getting the chance to decide the ones that aren't, correct?
Yeah,
Or
I'm
are you
looking
just
for 4
focusing-
names,
Okay, because I was gonna suggest Colby Cotton.
but he is in those, he has knowledge of those.
Well, that's where my question lies, is because according to the application, his employer is a church. So
I know, but
when it
did you see
says-
his list of experience?
No, I get that. But I was just, that's what I'm saying, where my question lies is, can I also account for what he says in, as far as the experience is concerned?
I would,
Even though that's not his current employer.
I would think so, and I don't know that he's not still,
Yeah, okay.
in doing that.
Yeah,
But,
that's mine.
yeah, I was surprised because I did not know that about him. I've been to his church a number of times, and he's done the invocation here. So,
Mm-hmm.
so we're going yes, and he meets that criteria.
Okay, cool.
So there's 1 name. We need 3 more. He is on the list. And, okay, you're gonna nominate him, and I would say he's quasi that,
I'd close it.
yeah.
But
Not directly, but with knowledge.
Exactly.
Yes.
David
David
Case.
Case. So he has been nominated.
I was also gonna do the Hyatt, the person with the Texas Water Development Board.
Okay,
Hayat.
Hayat, thank you, Joe. Or Mr.
Current full.
Pantaleon.
again, sort of a adjacent, but yes,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Which one did you mention? Harris?
He's a Realtor. So it would definitely be qualify there, okay? So that gives us 4 more. 2 directly in and the other 2 adjacent. So if we're good with those, are there any other names? Then that's our list. Mr. Trevino, that would be David Case, Colby Cotton, Anthony Harris, and Hyatt, and the name that starts with Q.
Bill
Yep.
Steed.
Right, we already voted on him. But yes, he's the ETJ guy. So it'll be a yes or no vote because we have 4 for 4.
All right. Ms. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez. Ms. Garza. Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza and Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez. The motion passes 5-0 with 2 absent.
Okay, that's 18. We've already done 19. Mr. Trevino, if you will read item 20.
The city council will convene an executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Government Code. 1, Section 551.087, Economic Development, to deliberate regarding possible incentives for Project Shirley Temple. 2, Section 551.072, Real Property, to deliberate regarding acquisition of easement or other interest in land necessary for completion of the Sunset Acres Regional Detention Pond.
Okay, as we always do, we post our executive session, the same items exactly at our 3 o'clock work session. We did have that executive session today. We did complete it, so we do not need to go into executive session again. So we are moving on to item 21.
Okay. The city council, sorry, Mayor, let me get my agenda packet, the beginning part. Okay, Consider action by motion and provide direction to staff related to the city council's executive session deliberation under the following sections of the Texas Government Code during the city council's work session or regular meeting. 1, section 551.087, economic development, to deliberate regarding possible incentives for Project Shirley Temple. 2, section 551.072, real property, to deliberate regarding acquisition of easement or other interest in land necessary for completion of the Sunset Acres Regional Detention Pond.
For item 1, discussion was held, and for item 2, discussion was held. So we will move on to item 4, Roman numeral 4. Question and answer, a session with the press and public. I have 2 people on my list that were online. I think they spoke earlier at citizen comment, and I don't see them online. So.
Wait, Mayor, real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
I gotta give a shout out to my sister and her mans who got married today. I know that's not germane, but I don't care.
Still calls for a celebration and
Had a plug.
congratulations. So that's a good thing. All right. And so, with there being no further formal business, I will adjourn us at 10:09.